Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Stassi. Thank you so much for being here today. I am so excited to have one of my favorite simmers coming back here today. Yes, she's a simmer. Thank you so much for coming back today. I'm excited to do our simmer spotlight because you're on a roundtable that will be coming out really soon because you were part of the YouTube roundtable.
No, I didn't make it.
No, wait, then what roundtable were you part of?
The machinima that
The
came out already.
machinima. Oh my god.
See,
That's
that's from
all.
you being a busy lady. You're a busy lady.
I'm so sorry. Oh
You're
my
a
god.
busy, busy lady. Okay.
That's awkward on my part, but please accept my apology because I don't thought it was the YouTube one that was coming out, not the machinima. But yes, she's a simmer. Thank you for coming back here today as I now have the tail in between my legs.
Just that I forgive you. You know, your schedule is jam packed. So
Thank you. Thank you.
don't even let it bother you.
Well, thank you. Well, why don't we start this interview off on a positive note instead of that embarrassing note? Um, for anybody that's first time listening to you, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and your Sims history?
Absolutely. So I am, yes, she's a simmer. I am an OG simmer. When I say OG, I mean I'm 40. Guys, I've been playing The Sims since I was about 11. We had an option in tech ed class either to play Oregon Trail, never made Oregon Trail, I'm people always died, or Sim City. The Sims is from the makers of Sim City.
Mm-hmm.
um, but so I was playing Sim City. So when the Sims came out in 2000, I was on it and I played every single iteration of the game. Absolutely, absolutely love The Sims. I like to immerse myself in in my own world. I'm also a Gemini, so I love to control other people. So this is awesome for me to control other people's lives. So The Sims was just made for a personality type like mine. Currently, I am a brand new machinima director. So I'm on my third series on YouTube, and my machinima journey started about 6 months ago, and it's just been a creative journey and awesome journey for me ever since.
I cannot wait to get into your Machinima journey in just a little bit. As being a voice actor for Machinimas, I can't imagine what it's to like being on the other side of it. As a
Ooh,
Sim storyteller, as I post photos of what I want you to see, you don't
yeah,
have that option because the world continues to revolve around you. Where my favorite buttons pause on a storytelling because I pause
yeah.
that shit and I crop things out. But anyways, yes, she's a simmer. Again, I'm so sorry for you're on the YouTube one. But talk about the machinima experience. How was that experience for you? Because I remember because that would be almost 5 months ago since we filmed
Yeah,
it because you were
September.
new and I said come on in, get some experience.
Absolutely.
Did you learn anything from that round table that you are
Uh,
currently using today?
everything. Everything. I mean OMG Sims, the mom cave,
Mm-hmm.
well the deed I can't remember her name. It's gonna bother me. She's quiet, but when she spoke,
Mm-hmm.
she gave us some really good information about her journey.
I don't
I
I know
learned a lot.
I know her name. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I know her name. She does like the America's Next Top Model.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. But she was very quiet, but when she spoke,
Mm-hmm.
she spit nothing but knowledge. And so I got a lot of knowledge from I reach out to OMG Sims. I reach out to the mom cave. I absolutely do. And I ask questions and they are very, very helpful. Um, it was the mom cave that made me realize that I could kind of do machinima the different way. I didn't need the transport mod. I could use this instead. I started using my game capture card or my camera, my screen um, sharing program that came with my computer on my graphics card because of the mom cave. And because she had mentioned, I was like, how did she do that? Figured out how to do that. So my filming experience has been totally different. I learned a great amount of things. I forgot something once and the interview came out and I'm like, yes. And I just watched it, rewatched it again. to get what she said because I remember she said it at this part. So yeah, I got some valuable information, and it was awesome to be included, especially being such a newbie
Mm-hmm.
with because I absolutely love the Reaper. I love the Curse too, but if I had to absolutely say which one of those two is your favorite, it would have to be the Reaper. I absolutely love that series. So when I met OMG Sims, I was starstruck. Like, you're one of the reasons I'm doing this.
Isn't that like the best though when you get like you get to meet your favorite people in The Sims and you get to talk to them and you're like, wow.
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna say I also heart the Reaper. I've been on a lot of Machinima series, a lot. And
Yeah.
I will do anything for ONG Sims. Like
I,
he's my down. Like he's my ride or die. And for Machinima creators,
you know you got nominated for Best Voice Actor for the Machinima Awards, right? Did I tell
I
you?
I
Yeah.
did
Okay. All
for
right.
Amy. I
Yeah.
love that. People because people are like, "Oh my God, like I love you as Amy. How do you do it?" I'm like,
Absolutely. If they changed the Amy, I don't know if I would have been happy because honestly, like somehow your voice matches with that character. It
yeah,
was almost like he built that character around your voice because I couldn't see her having any other voice.
I love that. So, fun story. So I auditioned. First ever machinima acting role I got was Amy.
Oh,
And I had no idea. I'd done a lot of like as a theater kid. I mean, Shakara by saying that. But it made I liked it. It was fun. But what happened as I got to know ONG Sims, because again, like at the beginning, I just typical relationship of just
yeah.
um voice actor to director. A lot of them just send their lines and they're off. Where I, on the other hand, like I would message him, I would ask him questions about the character, being like what was her decision making in this process. I like this. Can I change this line? Can I do it this way? And he always said yes. He was always very flexible working with me. And then the Reaper 3 came out and I then my fiance was casted as Kane. And then
Oh,
yeah, so Kane is my fiance. So we would do our scenes together. It was really fun. I would be like, can I say this line instead? Because this is how like we would actually interact with one another. This is how we would talk.
yeah.
And he's like, yeah. And then he would ask me about other aspects of the story. He's like, well, what do you think if I did this? And what do you think if I did that? And I'd be like, yes, do this, or no, don't do that. This a character would never say that. If this is based in like the US, they would never say this. Like ever. That's just
Right.
not how we talk. Because I took Amy's character and I kind of made it my own. And now for the Return of the Reaper, because I got the script and I said, "Have you made Amy yet?" And he said, "No." I said, "Okay, this is what how I think you should make her because this is how she would look coming from a college student because that's where the Reaper 3 takes
Oh,
place
yeah.
to the Return of the Reaper. She's older. She's 26, 27. Um,
Oh,
so like she would have longer, darker hair because she wouldn't have had the short hair. She had her short blonde hair phase.
right.
She's a an interviewer now. Again, he always takes the character and kind of mimics it off me of being like, because she was a YouTuber in the last one. I was a
Yep.
YouTuber and now I'm an interviewer. So he mimics it. I was like, okay, so she's 26, 27. She'd have longer hair, ombre. She would be wearing suits. She'd be really put together because she wants to be taken seriously. She wants to
Seriously.
separate from her image of what she was with the short hair.
Yep.
And he's like, I love that. And I'm like, yeah, I like it too because again, I've grown with this character a lot, and a lot of people message being like, "I know you as Amy," and then I always have to say, "Well, which Amy?" Because I also played Amy in Davenport, so I played two
Oh, okay.
Amy's. So they're like, "Well, the Reaper," and I was like, "Awesome," and they're like, "I knew you from Amy from Davenport," and I was like, yeah, you did because I played both Amy's. So
That's cool.
it was really funny. And also my fiance was also in Davenport. He played Richard. So
Oh,
yeah, so it's really nice that like the directors I have worked with some pretty shitty directors. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna sit here and be like, this is the best
Everyone was
experience.
perfect, right?
Everyone's perfect because I was working a project. I'm not gonna say what project, but it ended on not the best terms. They didn't like my acting style. They didn't like my reflections and how I speak because it's not how they saw the character. They wanted to change that out of me, and unfortunately, that's not something that you can change. You casted me how I speak,
Right.
so I mean, we ended up parting ways. That's fine. Um, he didn't let me have any really creativity aspect when it came to that. He just wanted the lines and just be thankful that I picked you kind of idea.
Yeah.
So it's fine. It's fine. I mean, they are also very young, like
Mm,
very young, like
yeah.
under 20 young. So
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
So they
Yeah.
they they have a long ways to learn to
To go.
grow how
Yep.
to
Because
deal
I
with
can tell
certain
you
things.
the 17, 18-year-old, yes, she's a simmer, is not this 40-year-old one. Number one, I'm old. So I'm tired. I don't have time. I got other things to worry about. Car notes,
I
lights, gas. So
I love that because I feel like, okay, correct me if I'm wrong. Yes, you said when you get older, your filter just goes out the fucking door.
what filter?
Yeah, what filter? What filter? It's gone. Again, 17, 18-year-old me was a fucking monster. I could have been a clacker from The Devil Wears Prada. Like that's the kind of
Ah,
attitude I was in. Like I was designer clothes, the world bows to me. I rule the world. I had no self-awareness and I was a complete asshole because I grew up as a rich kid. So
mm,
I never really heard the word no. I was also an only child, so I definitely never heard the word
yep.
no. And then reality hit me pretty hard at 20. And then after that, I looked at myself and I was like, I don't like the person you've become. And I'm gonna completely change. And I have. And even looking like, because I met my fiance at 23 and I'm gonna be 30 this year. The 23-year-old he met is a completely different person from now being 30.
Absolutely.
Because I'm an adult now. Even when I
Yep.
got engaged when I was 26, because I got engaged 4 days after I turned 26. I'm a completely different person even from that. I would say the pandemic really shaped of what was important to me and where my
Absolutely.
values lied. Because I would have because now I'm picking up the wedding planning, like we talked about,
Mm-hmm.
and I was way more strict back then. I was like, no, no, no. If it's my wedding, this is what we're doing. Okay, we're gonna do this and this, and I had my finger always out. Now I'm like, I can show up. I don't care.
You
Don't.
know what? That's more than anything,
Mm-hmm.
that's being sheltered and not being sheltered,
Yes.
right? I was a baby. So it was a long time before my mom and dad let me so much as ride the bus by
Mm-hmm.
myself. My oldest sister was always great with directions and
Mm-hmm.
so she got to do whatever, basically what she wanted to do. Then my oldest brother is 10 years my senior.
Yeah.
So by the time I got to any point, he was already out of house grown. So it was always me and I dropped up, picked up everywhere, and I was very
Mm-hmm.
sheltered. But when I got out here and I saw the world, who I was changed because I never had no, didn't, I wasn't a rich kid, but I was a spoiled brat.
Mm-hmm.
So no was not a word that resonated with me. It didn't work,
Mm-hmm.
right? My sister just started saying no to me about 10 years ago and I'm almost 40. I don't like it. Right, because I'm spoiled, like literally, I was spoiled. Everyone around me spoiled me because I was the baby, I was the
Yeah.
cute one, all of that. Um, and so, but once I got into the world, that entitlement changes,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so that's what happened to you. You got out here.
Yep.
And even if you get out here and you're still have that shelter and you're still spoiled, you can't help but see your environment,
Mm-hmm.
right? You can't help but actually see what's going on, and that's the same as someone who never leaves their neighborhood.
Yes.
And then when they step outside of their neighborhood, it's a culture shock. It's a whole
Mm-hmm.
new world because for you never would have seen that because that wasn't your
Mm-hmm.
environment. And that's what happened. I think for you, just from that story, it sounds like more than anything, it was experience that
Yes.
changed you, and it was stepping outside your box, stepping outside of your environment
Mm-hmm.
and seeing the world.
Yes.
You know, because once you open your eyes, it's really hard to shut them. Once you see the world, you can't unsee it.
Mm-hmm. That's 100% true. You
Yeah,
definitely cannot go back and unsee it because I was very sheltered. Like you said, rides. I had rides everywhere. I never had to take the bus. And then when I did take the bus, I'd be like, no, like mom, come get me. Like, I don't want to take the bus. Like I
seriously.
just don't want to do that. Now I'm like, oh my God, get me on the fucking bus because I need like 45 minutes of just like being on a bus without talking to another fucking human being. Like
Yep.
I just need to like catch up on some Instagram shit. Like I'll take that ride on the bus. But it's different how because like I want to say this, the Sims set me up for failure as a kid because I truly thought that I would get out of college with $25,000 in my bank account, have a career of just basically being like, well, you finished school, okay, well here's this job that pays like super well, and I just kind of thought like, oh well, the husband's gonna come right around the corner, great, and then the house is gonna come and then we're gonna get married because that's literally what was taught to us,
Yep.
that was the case, and that's the furthest thing from the truth. I walked out of school with student debt, um working minimum wage jobs, trying to put myself through school. I remember my first apartment when like it was me and my best friend, and our rent was 440 each, and my phone bill was $60, and the internet was 50 each, and the tenant's insurance was 25 each. That was the only bills I had. And I remember I used to make hella money because I used to work at Michael's as a manager. At the
Mhm.
time, minimum wage I think was 12 or $13, but I made 17.50 an hour at that point because I was a
As a
manager.
young, with that
As
kind of money, you had
Yeah.
ball.
Oh, I was also going through my hot girl summer phase because I recently got out of my toxic relationship of 7 years. So I'm now 23 years old. I living on myself by myself. I'm skinny as hell. I have abs on my abs because I'd lost a lot of weight from I always say I lost 400 pounds that day. I lost his ass, which was
Mm.
220, and I lost the other 80 pounds at the same
Yep.
time. So I was living my hot girl life. I was making hella money. I was at the bar every night. I was great. And that's when I really started to learn a little bit more that maybe I'm not the biggest itch shit because I'm just kind of like everybody else, kind of surviving and getting to meet more people that weren't just always in my inner circle.
Hmm.
I was going on dates because again, I was like, that was the first time I was ever single outside of high school and college. So I didn't really know the dating scene. I
Yep.
didn't realize that every 23-year-old fuck boy just really wants to fuck because
Oh yeah.
that's not me. I was never that person. I like in my Tinder profile it said no hookups. I never wanted that. I always wanted that general connection. And they
Hmm.
didn't like that I was old at 23 because I acted more like I was in my 30s because I wanted to go to the bar and have like a beer. I didn't want to like go to your house and watch you play GTA 5. Like I didn't want to do that, or I wanted to
Yeah.
go out for dinner. I actually had I had the same restaurant. It was Jack Astor's. So anyone who lives in Canada knows Jack Astor's. That's like our pub, like not, it's not even pub food. It's like I don't even know what I would equivalent to. Like a TGI Fridays is like our
Okay.
Jack Astor's.
Okay.
And I would go, I'd sit in the same spot with all my Tinder dates with the same waiter, and she'd be like, "This one's gonna be lucky, right?" And I'd be like, "I don't know, we'll see." But it was so funny because it was known. And then I decided to break my mold because I wanted to only date guys that were my same age. They had
Hmm.
to have like a dark blonde, dirty blonde, and they had to have blue eyes. And I was like, this isn't really working. This is not working. So then I met my fiance, who's 3 years older than me, has like the lusciousest beard you'd ever see, dark, beautiful brown eyes, and it has this beautiful olive skin complexion because he's half Macedonian, half Greek. And that was the first
Oh,
time I'd ever dated anybody that wasn't Caucasian.
yeah.
Because that's what kind of I surrounded myself with. And then I realized I was like, wow, I love this because this is awesome. And these white fuckboys I was dating were not.
Yep.
So it was interesting to see that. And he has really opened my eyes to how the rest of the world is, because again, I was so sheltered. Like Fox News was always on in my household. That was the it shit. I
Mm.
grew up as a Republican because I didn't
Mm-hmm.
know any better. And because that's what my dad told me I had to be. If I was going to be a
Yeah.
successful woman, I had to be a Republican. And that's not true. I mean, my dad's wish was for me to marry a wealthy person and be a trophy wife. Like that's kind of what my dad always wanted.
Mm.
He's changed his mind now because he realizes that I'm an independent woman that has a lot of thoughts. But yeah, it's crazy to just kind of see like, yeah, sheltered, not
Mm.
sheltered. And then you kind of realize like, oh man, like this world, it's kind of fucked. And
It's
then sorry, go ahead.
every environment is like that because I
Yeah.
grew up in a huge. My mom has a huge family. Dad was only child, but my mom has a huge family. So my entire world is black.
Mm-hmm.
And when I moved from Illinois to Wisconsin, it was a straight culture shock
Mm-hmm.
because all of my I always lived in a multicultural neighborhood. My mom always made sure of that. She wanted us to, my mom and dad, they wanted us to have access to other cultures and be worldly.
Yep.
So when I moved here to Madison, Wisconsin, it was the first place I was called the N word. Now, mind you,
Yeah.
Chicago is one of the most segregated places
Mm-hmm.
in the world, but I was in my part.
Yep.
There wasn't any white people in our neighborhood. We had Latinos, we had
Mm-hmm.
Jamaicans, we had blacks. We didn't have any white people. So moving here, I moved right smack into Whiteville,
Yep.
where I was one of two black kids in my class,
Yep.
going from being, one of 20 black kids in my class. It was definitely a culture shock. What I will tell you is that now my friend group, my circle is so well rounded.
Mm-hmm.
I have friends of all different nationalities and all different races and all different backgrounds. And I wouldn't had we stayed in Chicago because
Mm-hmm.
it's very segregated. You didn't go outside. Listen, honey, I brought my friend who's Caucasian with me to the south side of Chicago. That didn't go well. That did not go well.
No.
That didn't. And at that time, I had been in Madison for like 10 years.
Yeah.
So I was a cheesehead. Like it was, I am a cheesehead because now I've lived in Madison for 31 years.
Oh
So, and I
wow.
only lived in Chicago for 9. So I've
Yeah.
lived in Wisconsin, 3 times,
Mm-hmm.
that I lived in um, Chicago. So when we came back, I was straight up, my cousins called me a white girl because I was just straight up proper English. Started to get that little Wisconsin accent, which still bothers me because I have it. um, but it was, I can say, had my mom not done that,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think my world would be as full
I got you.
or have as much substance. Because
Mm-hmm.
when I got here, there wasn't a lot of folks that looked like me. And the folks that did look like me, we were kind of pushed into like specific areas because it was this influx of blacks that were coming to Wisconsin for a better life, and they didn't know what to do because
Yeah.
it was, basically an old white town. Um, so there was a lot of things that happened growing up here that I'm glad because it prepared me for the actual world. I
Yes.
remember I was in McDonald's parking lot a couple of weeks ago, and a guy got upset because I made it up. They have the stupid 2 lanes now.
Yeah.
Merge the one. I hate that. Um, and he got upset because I ordered first and I got in front of him, and he's out his window yelling the N word at me. Now,
Like
I believe,
3 weeks ago.
yeah, seriously,
What the
and then just kept
fuck?
it going, just kept it going. Just it's like he was. Oh, listen, the man was so old. I'm pretty sure he knew Jesus. Like that's how old he was. And so, had I not lived here, had I lived in Illinois, I think my response would have been completely different. My response now is your mama. Just like that doesn't bother me. I know the meaning of that word. I'm not ignorant. I'm not uneducated. But those
Yeah.
are the two things that I'm definitely absolutely not. And that you yelling that at me, it says more about you
Yeah.
than it does about me. So I made it a joke, and I got out of my car with my phone and I'm like filming them. Like, this is like, guys, this is what's happening in Madison, Wisconsin. Um, I'm glad she moved us here because my mom made the decision to move us here, and then my dad just kind of followed because we didn't have a choice.
Mm-hmm.
My grandmother, my mom's mom, and her sister both moved here, and so we came to visit. She wanted to stay, but it made me well rounded. It did, and I'm glad because I have friends from all walks of life. I can tell you that if I stayed in Chicago, my circle would look very much different, and it
Mm-hmm.
would not be multicultural. It would probably absolutely only be Black. I've dated white guys.
Mm-hmm.
I've dated Latinos. I probably wouldn't have dated outside my race, and in the environment that I was in. And it made me who I am.
Mm-hmm.
And I love the person that I am, and I feel comfortable. Like, I'm a huge Doctor Who fan. I probably wouldn't have told nobody in Chicago I was a Doctor Who fan. Now I would because I'm proud of it.
Yeah.
Because I love being a Who fan. Okay. But that also opened up my Sims life too,
Mm-hmm.
to different cultures and being able to, especially with the expansion of all these different cultures that they're bringing in and being able to experience like Asian culture and Moroccan culture um and made me want to kind of bring those elements into my game because
Mm-hmm.
of the way my friendship group looks like. I
Yeah.
wanted to make Sims that look like them as
Mm-hmm.
well.
No, well, yes, you sorry. Thank you for sharing that. I'm so sorry that happened to you.
Oh,
I mean, that's disgusting that that still happens. And I know it happens all the time, but it's just
yeah.
disgusting that we're talking about like it just irks me the wrong way
I
because
can
I
tell
hate
you the thing for me was that blackface video that that I saw that happened in Philadelphia last
Mhm,
week, and it just I cried. Now I didn't cry. Here's the reason why. You know, the things that happened with George Floyd was blatant.
yes.
That has been a concern my entire life.
Yeah.
When I can probably absolutely guarantee you that if you and I have the conversation of what our parents told us the first time we left the house and how to interact with police, it's going to be a completely different conversation.
100%. Yep.
So that's been my whole life. So it was a shock. It was disgusting. It was heartbreaking, but it
Hmm.
wasn't rare.
No.
Police brutality I mean, that's just been the thing, right?
Yeah.
That honestly, they would have gotten, and this is an unpopular opinion, so don't cancel me. They would have gotten OJ had it not been for racist cops. Because I don't care
Hmm.
what nobody say, he killed.
Yeah, he killed them. Yeah, yeah.
I don't
No,
care.
no. We're on the same page with this one. Yeah, he fucking did it. He got away with it. He
He got
fucking
away
he got away with
because of
murder.
a racist cop and a
Yeah.
racist judge.
Yep.
That man should have been thrown under the jail. Okay.
Yeah.
But because of that, because you just knew this black man, you didn't give him the right to be innocent until proven guilty like everyone else. You
Hmm.
botched the case that was a slam dunk. This was
Hmm.
a freaking slam dunk, like seriously. And it was just because of racism. And I'm sorry, again, don't cancel me, black people. I love y'all. OJ did it. I don't care. My opinion. Um, so that's kind of in the world, but that those girls
Yeah.
to paint the face. First of all, my heart goes out to the girl whose face was painted. She clearly didn't want to do that.
Yeah.
She was clearly being bullied.
Yeah.
She was clearly, you can see it in her face, in her eyes, and when they were treating her. She was clearly being bullied. So that's one part of the problem. I'm not just looking at it going, oh my God, look what they're doing about my people. No, look at this girl. She is clearly being beaten or bullied. She is clearly being abused by people who are supposed to be her friend.
Yeah.
Let's start there. And then what they're saying, it broke my heart because these kids are hope, right? We're
Yeah.
in a more diverse world
Hmm.
where there's access to culture and these stereotypes can be crushed and you have children
Hmm.
behaving this way.
Mm-hmm.
So they're still being bred to
Yes.
think this behavior is acceptable. That made me sad.
That does make me sad because it's a conversation. It's something I think about all the time. Is as children, we don't automatically associate anything else around us besides we want to play. We
Right.
want to play. We want to read a story. We want to, I don't know, play cars or Barbie dolls or anything like that. It's not until we have outside influence telling
Absolutely.
us how we should feel. And
Yep.
then once we realize that, that's when hatred and judgment comes in,
Right.
right? And then that's
Absolutely.
that's again, it's bred. It's not, we're not born with hatred. We're raised with hatred. And it's crazy to think about that.
Yep.
And the fact that it's still happening and they're getting, I'm going to say this and I don't really care if I get canceled because it's my personal opinion, but I feel like the people that cause the most hatred in the world have the most kids. And the people that
Absolutely.
cause the least amount of hatred either have zero or no kids. Or sorry, zero or one kid. I meant to say zero or one,
Absolutely.
right? So you kind of start feeling outnumbered
Yep.
because they're the loudest and the more well-mannered ones are the quietest, but then
Yep.
you only hear the loud and the loud get the news attraction
Yep.
because it's loud, it's clickbaity, it's to scare people. I mean, at this point of being like, look what's happening here,
Right.
right? And then you watch it, you're like, oh my god, that's so terrifying, oh my god, like, and then it starts to affect that, and then other people watch that and they're like, well, I could do that, I
Right.
feel the same way,
Right.
and then they do it, and then it's like second instance this week of X, Y, and Z.
Yep.
And then you have like, oh my god, like this is like getting really bad, and yeah, they'd be like, fuck yeah, I'm finally
Yep.
feeling heard because social media gave us a fucking, everyone a fucking platform thinking that they are right and that they are not, and you, god forbid, you can't have a like an opinion of,
Absolutely not.
right, like, hey, this is how I look at it. My views on life may be different from other views in life. I think I'm right. You may think you're right. We should be able to come together in a peaceful conversation, but that will never happen because as soon as you tell somebody, typically who's on that angrier side, that they're wrong, that's when like they're like, no, I'm right. And I'm like, I'm sorry you feel this way, but I
Right.
have proof that you may be wrong. And it's like, well, that's fake, it's all fake. And then it kind of, again, was just spiraling at this point, right? Because
That fake news thing is just driving me.
mm-hmm,
I'm just like, if you think about it, everyone can say that their data is correct and your data is wrong.
yes,
I can't wait for us as a culture. As a culture, it should be, I don't agree, but I
yes,
respect your opinion. Because when I enter into a conversation, okay, I am very much a zodiac sign, right? So I'm very much a Gemini. I will debate over white bread with you,
yes,
right? I can absolutely love white bread. White bread could be my favorite thing in the world. And if you like white bread, I'm going to take the stand on wheat and it's going to be believable, right? Because I love to debate.
yeah,
The reason why I win is because my debates are never to change your mind, it's simply to
yes,
state my opinion.
exactly,
And if you're coming into this to change my mind, you're going to get angry. You're going to get angry because you feel rejected.
yes,
And people don't think about that. Go into a conversation saying, it is important for my opinion to be heard. So I'm going to state my opinion. It absolutely does not matter to me if you agree with me. I may find it's funny, and if it's a situation where the conversation is a little aggressive, I'm probably going to laugh at you because you're so dumb to me.
yeah,
But what I am going to do is allow you to have your opinion because you have the right to,
mm-hmm.
right? The whole point, especially here in the United States, I love when people say the First Amendment. Okay. Are
Oh
you
dear,
for the First Amendment? That means that you have to stand next to someone who is screaming at the top of their lungs something in which you would oppose at the top of yours for your entire life and respecting that. meaning that if you don't like me because I'm Black, I don't care. I don't like people because they have brown hair. Everybody has a preference.
Yes.
Everyone has a preference. So if you simply say, you know what, I'm just not comfortable with Black people, fine. I don't care about that. I really could care less. Here's where it's a problem. When that attitude affects my healthcare, when that
Mm-hmm.
attitude affects my housing choices, when that attitude affects the jobs that I can get.
Mm-hmm.
So as long as you keep your racism out of my life, you can keep it.
Yeah.
You can absolutely, absolutely, positively keep it. I am not a I don't click with flamboyant people. If they don't like me, I don't particularly care for them. And I'm not talking about the LGBT. I mean, anybody flamboyant. I have
Mm-hmm.
flamboyant females that just get on my nerves. Flamboyant
Mm-hmm.
males that just get on my nerves. I'm not that bouncy, bubbly around me person, right? That's just
Yeah.
not who I am, and that irritates me. I would never, based on that, I would never not have a conversation with someone who's flamboyant. I
Yeah.
would never not give them an opportunity to show me who they are. Just our personalities don't click. I'm too serious for a flamboyant person, and they're too carefree.
Yes.
So it doesn't, we're like this,
Yeah.
but I would never discriminate against that person based on my preference.
Yes, so that is exactly. And we need more people feeling that way, being like, instead of just being bred into us, being like, well, no, we don't like you, and we're gonna tell you everything why, and we're gonna change your opinions because I'm right and you're wrong, and then you're
Right.
gonna be on my side. I just, yeah, I couldn't live in America. Like I couldn't do it. I wanted to when I was younger. I just can't. I just, especially like the amendments. I love they're like, we can't take away the Second Amendment, obviously. I'm very anti-gun. I'm extremely anti-gun.
Yep.
My ex-boyfriend was all about guns. He loved them. um I got to see a little bit into that world, didn't like what I saw, became very anti. But guys, that amendment was made in 1778. Thank you, Alexander Hamilton, who teaches us that, because most people don't know, because it's that long, and especially if you're from other
Mm-hmm.
countries,
Right.
we don't know US history. That's when muskets were a thing, and it took you 10 minutes to
Right.
fucking load a gun. Okay. It's not
There was
like
no multiple shots,
there was
right?
no multiple shots. It was a musket. Like, they literally talk about in Hamilton how to have a fucking duel. And like, it literally is like one shot and we're
Yep.
done. Right. Okay. So that was back then, when assault rifles, you couldn't buy them at Walmart. Okay. Like, listen, if you want to have a gun because it makes you feel safe, okay, sure. I'm not going to sit here and say no. If that's
Right.
what makes you feel safe, as long as it's safe, like a
Right.
handgun, but you don't need an AK-47
For
to
what?
protect your family. No,
What? What do you need a
no,
semi-automatic weapon for?
no.
Why?
Because, like, statistically, if you have a gun in the house, who's going to get shot is someone who lives in that house. That is the number one statistic. Or when they wanted to arm, and I fucking love this, because gun violence in schools in the States is very common, giving teachers guns, because that's not stressful.
So let me get, when I heard that this is what I said. Okay. I said,
Yeah.
so let me get this straight. Right? We
Yeah.
have a gun violence problem.
Yes.
So we throw more guns at it.
Yes. Because that's not going to hurt more people. Like, I can't. I could. I mean, I could be a teacher. Anybody could be a teacher. In the situation, I had a gun. I'm like, well, I have to protect the students with my zero knowledge of how to shoot this thing. I'm
Yeah,
going
I'm not
to
doing
either
that.
hurt myself or I'm going to hurt a kid.
It
And
would
they're
make more sense to make the classrooms into a panic room. It
yes,
would make more sense to put
yes,
her steel doors that
yes,
shut and make those classrooms a panic room.
yes,
That just makes sense. Or you're gonna add more guns. That doesn't.
yeah,
Do you know? And this is so I hated this. January 23rd, the statistics came out. We had 36 mass shootings in 23 days in 2023 in the United States. And I kid you not, there were more mass shootings than there were days in 2023.
that's disgusting. I did not.
Absolutely.
I did not know that.
Absolutely.
It was it's kind of funny that you say it. So my boss, terrible. We discussed that before this podcast. So he just came back from a month in Florida because snowbirds, as we do, we go to
Mm-hmm.
Florida, and could never do that because I'm fucking petrified of Florida. But anyways, so he's driving. He stopped. Pick a state between Florida and Canada. One of them could be
Okay.
Nashville, could be Kentucky, could be anywhere. South Carolina, North Carolina, somewhere up along that way. So they're sitting having dinner, and then they see a bunch of cop cars drive by,
Mm.
and the guy comes in. They're at this pizza place, and the guy comes in, and the waitress is like, "Oh, did you hear any gunshots? Is this like a shooting nearby?" He's like, "I didn't hear any this time, so could be anything." And my boss overheard this, and we talked about it in good lengths of like, that is a conversation that's never brought up here. We see rushing vehicles. Unfortunately, we assume domestic or a stabbing in Canada. We don't
Mm-hmm.
ever associate gun violence or drugs. I would say drugs are very common. We're very meth heavy here.
Yeah.
But we would never ever say, "Oh, I didn't hear any gunshots today. Guess it's not that." Like, we would be fucking panicked.
No, we're scared to go to Walmart.
That's
We're scared to go to the grocery store because you don't know. There was literally a mass shooting in Illinois, and this is how close this came. Right, we had a mass shooting in the mid 2022 in Illinois. They found this was I think it was in the suburbs of Chicago.
mm-hmm.
They found the shooter's cell phone here in Madison
Yep.
on one of our main roads. They found out that he had came here to Madison to do another mass shooting. He finished the mass shooting, came to Madison to do another mass shooting, but he wasn't prepared. And so he decided to turn around and go home. And he ditched his phone here on one of our busiest areas, University Avenue. Now, mind you, this this here, this
Yeah.
is I'm here. I was moving around that day. I was running errands that day.
Yeah.
For all I know, I drove right past this man. I was in that area. I actually had visited a friend a couple blocks from the gas station they found his phone at. So this is it's I don't I'm scared to I online shop still. You
Mm-hmm.
know, I tell my mom, please, if we don't have to go to the grocery store, let's not go to the grocery store. We do more hanging out inside of each other's homes now than we do going out. Because I will tell you, the last time I went out to the club, I had to duck. And I was just like, you know what? I'm old. My knees don't work. I don't want to do this. You're scared now. Literally, when we walk into a party now, there's metal detectors. There's the security guy with the wand. They're checking my bags, like opening my purse and moving stuff around type situation. Like they're wanting us down, and you still have to walk under the metal detectors. And if they don't have that at that establishment, I'm not going because you don't wouldn't believe how many times I've been actually in. And again, I'm gonna say this one more time. I live in Madison, Wisconsin. I don't live in New York. I don't live in Chicago. I don't live in Detroit. I don't live in Baltimore. I live in funky little Madison, Wisconsin. Okay, which up until a few years ago, we still have farms and dirt roads. I
Mm-hmm.
kid you not. Okay, I spent my
Oh, yeah,
childhood tipping cows until I realized what that was doing. I'm looking at the camera. I didn't know. I only tipped 2 cows in my life. Don't judge me. Don't cancel me. When I figured it out, it made me cry. But that was my childhood when we moved here. Farms and barefoot and hunky tonks. I couldn't tell you the amount of barn dances and hoedowns I've been to. Okay,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
and I'm scared to go to the grocery store because they're shooting up gas stations here. It's horrible. It is absolutely horrible. We need a whole just podcast on gun violence. Look, seriously, seriously, and that's why I am a Democrat with some Republican values. I kid you not. I'm a very very conservative Democrat because I
Mm-hmm.
feel in some areas Democrats have gotten too liberal,
Yeah.
and I think that causes a problem,
Yeah.
right? And I think that in some aspects Republicans have gotten too conservative.
Yeah.
That causes a problem. There's no happy medium. Like I fully fully think that our president should be nonpartisan. I don't understand
Yeah,
why a president would belong to a political party because you're
exactly.
representing the interests of the United States, not the interests of a party.
Hmm.
That is the one thing that I do respect about the royal family in England is the fact that the queen or king is nonpartisan
Yeah.
and they don't get involved in political. Now we all know what things happen behind closed doors and with prime ministers and all of that. I get that. It's supposed to. But out front, their people believe that they represent them, not a
Yeah.
specific political party. And I think that's one of the biggest this race war that we have going between Republicans and Democrats, because it's absolutely a race war.
Yes.
It absolutely is a race war. It is old, older white people feeling like the whites are dying out. And so they're
Hmm.
doing things like removing abortion rights and um, contraceptive rights
Yep.
because they don't care about everyone else, right? And I'll tell you this, and then we can go back to Simi. I feel like you and I can talk about stuff forever, and I love
Yeah. Oh,
that.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, there's this thing that by 2050, basically whites are going to be the world's minority, not the majority
Yeah.
anymore. That the world is going to look very beige, right?
Yes.
Because there's so much intermingling with races.
Hmm.
So what they're trying to do here is stop white women from having abortions. And by doing that, right? Because they like to throw out numbers and say 50% of abortions are by Black women. Yes. What they're not telling you
Hmm.
is that 40% of those abortions are involuntary terminations
Yes.
because we are twice as likely to die
Hmm.
during childbirth than our white counterparts. So we have to have life saving abortions that we can no longer get
Hmm.
in order to protect the mother. And sometimes, you have to make the choice between your life or your child's life. Now, look at this situation. Now, our Supreme Court has ruled that Roe versus Wade is no more.
Yep.
So we have all of these different contraceptive things coming up in our states. We have all of these different bans on abortions. White women are going to be forced to have children, or Black women and babies are dying in
Hmm.
childbirth. They're systematically wiping us out while building up their race. Here's what they didn't think about. When the abortions were banned, the death of white women tripled
Yeah.
because white women were getting backdoor abortions, back
Yes.
alley abortions. Um, now you have a world where we have so many things. People are going to be selling abortion pills online.
Yep.
You know how many of those things are laced with fentanyl and they're going to
Yes.
kill
Yep.
so many people? So they're not thinking.
Nope.
They're not thinking. And Democrats are so, yeah, they should be able to do what they want. You're not actually looking at the fact that there are people using abortion as birth control, which is
Hmm.
your right.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, let's make it known that because you have so many women who've done that and then they go to have a child and they kill it because
Hmm.
they don't know the damage they're doing to their body.
Hmm.
They don't know that every single time they have one, they're making their body enabled to actually carry a child full term.
Yep.
So much misinformation out there that we need to come together as a people. It's not going to happen, um, at least not in my lifetime. But I can tell you from the time that I moved to Madison to now, my life is different.
Hmm.
People are ignorant. Being called the N word is something that's going to happen because people think it's a cheap shot. There's
Yeah.
no different than a man calling a female a B, right? They're going to
Absolutely.
call us a B to the end of time
Yep.
because they think it's insulting. But what I will say is that my interaction with people are different. I
Hmm.
don't go into a situation thinking every single white person is racist, and I did. My
Yeah.
guard was always up. The scary part is any white person could be racist, and you don't know.
Yeah.
You don't know what situation you're putting yourself in. But it's Black people, technically, by the definition, Black people cannot be racist. And I'm not going to go into that. Folks who's watching, just look up the word racism, learn the definition, and you'll understand what I mean. But we can be heavily prejudiced. And so that is something that we have to work on ourselves. Because
Mm-hmm.
I brought a white boy home, and the first thing my grandma said was, "You brought in the devil."
Yeah.
There was no anything like, "I'm not getting to know him. I don't want to be around him. He's a rag. He's the devil. Why would you do that?" That was the reaction in my home. And it
Yeah.
actually, that plus his parents' reaction to me is what actually broke us up. But that was the sad part because we really liked each other in high school. But
Yeah.
his parents didn't want him dating a Black girl. My parents didn't care as long as he treated me well. But my grandmother, who was living with us, made him very comfortable every time he came over. So it's a catch-22.
It is.
Yeah.
It is a catch. Well, thank you for sharing. I could not agree more about Roe versus Wade because I advocated very heavily of how that's not fucking okay. And
Not at
that
all.
you didn't end abortion, you just created back alley abortion. Abortions are still
Ab-
gonna happen. And
absolutely.
when I was on Instagram and I was sharing like where women, because like I'm in Canada. So that immediately it stepped out being so Roe versus Wade. We actually use that as precedent in like in our rights. So our government
Yes.
came out and said, nope, that is a medical procedure that is not changing here. So I started advocating more for the states and like educating women where to
Mm-hmm.
go where you need one, that don't go to these websites for back alley abortions, don't go to Mexico. If you
Right.
are going to go to
Don't go to
Mexico,
Mexico.
go to safer places, not to back alleys. People are like, you dirty C word, you live in
Yep.
Canada, you don't have to, like, why are you advocating, like you don't know what it's like. I'm like, you're right, I don't know what it's like to have that, not being able to get one. Here's the thing, I want to educate people why abortion is needed. As
Right.
I have had several miscarriages that I needed to take the abortion pill. I had
Right.
to. I was going to die. I was
Right.
going to die. So again, abortions are still going to happen. Miscarriages are still going to happen. You can't get rid of it. And again, you're taking away, like I have this theory because like modern day fashion is going back to the 70s. It's a really 70s, 80s style right now for like us
Mm-hmm.
use. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
they're getting us to dress what the rights are in the States. I am a huge taking
That
it
part
back.
right there. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Absolutely. I will not be part of that trend. You will not see anything 70s on me. I am, I fight for women's rights. I fight
Yep.
for the right to vote because, like, I had coworkers that refused to vote. And I'm like, women died so we could fucking vote. Go and vote. And not only just go and vote, but be educated. So
Right.
something that we've, like, I scream at people here. So we, like, obviously every form of, like, there's three stages of government. You have your city, you have your state or province,
Mm-hmm.
and you have your country.
Right.
Learn what each does. My city is going to focus on my city needs, such as roads,
Right.
such as just anything in the city. I know I know I was going to lead up with more with roads, but like
I got
road, you know what I
right.
mean, right? Roads, sidewalk,
Municipal.
municipal, like
Yeah. Water.
snowplow,
Yep.
like anything that's in the city. Awesome. And then you have province or state. What are they going to do for the province or the state? And then the
Right.
whole country. What's different? So a
Right.
lot of people here bash on Justin Trudeau, but it's actually not Justin Trudeau, it's Doug Ford. Because again, it's not understanding who does what. Or they'll be like,
Right.
oh, Doug Ford, get the snowplows out. He has no say what happens in my city. he
Right.
he does not control, he does not sign the snowplow paycheck. Okay,
Right.
that's our mayor that decides that, and our council people. And like attentive of who's on the council, especially in the education sector. Do you
Yep.
stand with their values? Do you stand what they want to teach our
Absolutely.
children?
Absolutely.
Because you might not, but here's the thing, you have that ability to change that. You have that ability to vote. And I'm finding as the more elections go on, you're getting less people voting because the baby boomers are dying, right? That's
Right.
the generation that votes. The new generation is coming in and they're not voting. I find the Gen Zers, they will punch a cop in the face, but they won't call and make a doctor's appointment. Like that's kind of their lies, but they'll be like, oh,
Yep.
like we don't need to vote. Like it's fine. I'm like, no, you need to vote because you are setting up the generation. We're trying to fix what the baby boomers did, which is the millennial generation, because
Right.
now we are heavily in the workforce.
Right.
We are now the ones making decisions. We are
Right.
now, our baby boomer cousins are retiring. They're old. We're the new
Right.
bloods coming in. And then you now have the next generation starting to come in. And I have lots to say about that generation because we always get lumped together. But it's an exception to the rule for some of them, but we need to focus together. We need to
Right.
focus on the things that matter, such as gun violence, human rights, police brutality, guns, mental health, and everything. And the thing is, we have to come together and do this. And you're right. We need a
Right.
president that's not, well, I'm a liberal, so I'm going to vote on the liberal side. Because then nothing gets fucking done because
No.
it's like, okay, so liberals are in power for either Democrats are in power for either 4 or 8 years. And then they step down and then it's Republicans for 4 or 8 years. And they just keep fucking bouncing the ball back.
And
But
here's the worst thing with us, right? It too controls our House and our Senate
yeah,
that runs our country. So if we have a Democratic president,
yeah,
but the leader, the Speaker of the House is a Republican, and
yeah,
the majority leader of the Senate is a Republican, then they're still pushing the Republican agenda,
exactly.
right? Those, to me, everything should be. I don't care if you agree with the party or not. You know what I'm saying? If I had to put it, I would tell you in a minute. I'm a conservative Democrat, right? I get on Democrats' nerves because I'm really conservative,
Yeah,
but I don't think Republican.
yeah,
I agree with some Republican values, but I don't. My thought process
yeah.
is not Republican, so I can't claim to be a Republican. And I see the extreme on both sides, and
Mm-hmm.
that's what our Senate looks like. And now our House is Republican. Now, keep in mind, our House of Representatives is our money. That's our purse.
Yep.
We can't push anything through on the Senate level without it being approved
Mm-hmm.
on the House floor. But we have a Democratic Senate now. Nothing's going to get done.
No,
Nothing is going
because
to get
they'll just shoot it down.
absolutely
Oh,
on
like
both sides.
no. They're like, no. What one will
Yep,
get through, and they'll be like, no, we're not
yep.
gonna do it. That
Whatever
is,
the House passes, Senate's gonna reject. Whatever the Senate sends to the House is gonna reject it, and they're not thinking about the people. They're not. They're just thinking about their own selfish agendas.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what we need? Have you been watching The Last of Us? Do you know like The Last of Us? Great TV show right now.
No, I haven't seen it.
Oh, phenomenal. It's great. It's zombies. Okay. That's what we need at this point. We need a zombie apocalypse. Let's fucking press
You know
reset
what?
on this.
Everybody else.
Yeah, reset, kiddos. Because before, like, I was like, no, like, humanities are saving. Nah, fucking reset. Let's go
I
because
feel that way.
we are killing, like, we are killing this planet. We are
Yep.
killing this planet that gives us everything, and we are killing it. And what are we rewarding it with? Fucking, we can't even pass a goddamn bill that's gonna help with the eco lifestyle of our lives because it can't get past the Senate. Because the thing is, we need the US to start doing stuff, because then if the US does it, then Canada and Mexico do it, and then the rest of the
Absolutely.
world does it. But then the thing is, like, well, China's not doing it, so like we're not gonna do it. And it's just like,
Yep.
but we're just gonna die because, like, I think it was 2018, there was a country somewhere, please do not quote this, but it, like, where the location is, but somewhere in Africa, they actually ran out of water. They ran out of water. That's happening. We're going to run out of water and food very quickly. Like, in our like, I feel like in my generation at the very
Yep.
end, we will run out of food in some countries because there will not be enough food.
And we're killing the earth. So we're killing our ability to grow it.
right? And then you have the old generation, well, the earth has stood for 1 million years and it's not gonna fall now. And I'm like, the dinosaurs went extinct. So there have been mass extinctions in our lifetime. We just haven't had
Ice
one in a
Age.
long time. Ice Age. Again, this is like what I tell people, I'm like, science happens regardless if you don't think it is or not.
Right.
Um, like educate yourselves
Right.
on certain things. But I feel like we have to go back to Sims because this has been an hour.
We might just want to start the whole thing over, and then you could use this for a different podcast.
I do have a podcast that I do want to invite you to after this one, but we are going to come back to this.
Okay. All right.
I
We're
think
ready to get
you
back
know
on
what though.
track.
I think we needed this. So something that like I feel like if this was on like another a podcast, may be cut because it's not what the focus is.
Mm-hmm.
But we are people, and we have to talk about issues, and this is an issue that we need to talk about
Absolutely.
because we are people. Yes, we like Sims. Yes, is this podcast an escape for you? Absolutely. But there are issues happening in the real world that we need to talk about. And I have no problem using this platform to talk about important issues. I've always stated that as the case. And if you don't want to listen to those top issues, the issues that we want to bring to this
Right.
table, that's on you. Have fun.
Right.
Have fun.
But to
Um,
be honest, I will tell you that it has come up in my Sims, to be honest. I
yes.
get I get inboxed. I've got inboxed 3 times. And the question was, how come you don't create white Sims? And I never know how to answer that.
Yeah.
Because I have a woman I grew up with. She's my sister. She is my sister's best friend. She's my big sister. Like you
Mm-hmm.
can tell me anything, and she's Caucasian, and she is my big sister. I respect her
Yeah.
and my life like my big sister because they both raised me. You
Mm-hmm.
know, your parents raise you, but your siblings raise you.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
both raised me. Um, and the first thing she asked me when I said, "Hey, did you watch my machinima?" I was so excited for her to see the road because she knew about the story because
Mm-hmm.
the road was a novel, so she knew about that. And so I was so excited for her to see it. And she said, "Yeah, but sis, there are no white people.
Yeah.
This is like you couldn't tell us we're not blood." And she is white, you know, you couldn't tell us, but her that was her reaction to it, and it kind of deflated me a little bit because I was like, wow, that's your take, not looking at the story. And my answer to that was, well, sis, do you watch Friends?
Yeah.
I know she loves Friends. And she said, yeah. I said, well, there's no black people on Friends.
Yeah.
So I'm confused. Why is it a problem? Because I'm creating shows centered around
Yeah.
black excellence. And here's the thing, right? And I'll be completely honest with you, Sassy. I don't write from a white perspective because I feel like it's probably going to be stereotypical because I don't have a white experience. So I don't want to write a character that is a stereotype.
Yeah.
I don't want to do that. The white folks around me have grew up with black people, not in ghettos or hoods or anything,
Mm-hmm.
but they grew up with black people and they're very well rounded and well versed, right? So, but that's only a small set of white people. So if I go into character where, and none of those people that I can pull from my inspiration or from my real life are corporate. Most of the folks in my shows are corporates.
Mm-hmm.
They're professionals. I would hate to write a character and then you watch it and you're offended.
Yeah.
I would also hate to write a white character that I put too much of a black experience into. And
Mm-hmm.
then black people are offended and say, well, you blacked out this character, the white girl.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I'm not confident enough in my writing to write a white experience. Now, I have a show coming out with a couple white characters,
Mm-hmm.
but they're not my main characters and they're not in depth.
Yeah.
Because again, I don't want to offend anyone. So it's kind of a catch 22. There's something that I'm watching that's really, really, really good. Right. And It's a really good story, and it's a collaboration between two people that I love and respect for The Sims. But I'm noticing that most of the bad characters are Black, and it's bothering me. And I don't know how to say, hey, I'm curious, why are all your negative characters
Yeah.
African American or Black? I'm just wondering why this white hero has to defeat Black people.
Yeah.
Like one or two, because they're, listen, I'm not going to sit here and say, Black people are just the best things in the world and we don't do anything wrong. Shit. Excuse me, shoot.
That's okay. You can swear. It's okay. This is not a child friendly. You got to be 18A to listen to this shit, okay? So it's
I'm a
okay.
realist. Got you. I'm a realist. You know what I'm saying? I know that there are flaws in my people, just like there are flaws in everybody else's.
Mm-hmm.
I know I'm not going to sit here and tell you, oh, because she's Black, she's perfect. Absolutely not.
No.
Because human beings as a whole are flawed,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's how it goes. But why is everybody your white character going up against Black and a Black male at that?
Mm-hmm.
And you rescued a Black woman from a Black male. It's bothering me.
Yeah.
I love the story. The story is so good and so juicy.
Mm-hmm.
And I like literally on Instagram, when I look on Instagram, I'm looking for three things. There's a story by a Simmer that I love where he just found out, can't remember, but it's the characters' name are True and Echo, and there's this whole thing going with paternity test and divorce. It's so good. And there's a Rose Chronicles. I'm up to date. Like I binged it one weekend. I'm up to date. And then this particular story. And I'm not saying the name of this particular story because I don't want to put a damper on it because it could just be my perspective.
Yeah.
It might not be anything negative, but it's very hard if you watched my show. It's funny. Someone said, all of your characters are Black, but you have white characters that are the help, like bartenders and stuff.
Yeah.
And then in my series, the landlord, he just had to be an evil white guy. And I say, he's not an evil white guy. He is an evil white guy. I said, no, he's an albino. He's Black. But he's
Yeah.
an albino who's passing for white.
Yeah.
But he's not a white guy. Because if you look at his mannerisms, the way he talks, he doesn't talk. He talks like someone with Black influence because I have Black influence.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So it's that is a question I get a lot, and it's such a catch-22 because I've seen Simmers who are not Black write Black characters, and they're beautiful, and they're strong, and they're just human. That is what you see is the humanity. And then I'm seeing white Simmers make ghetto Sims, right? That aggravates me. That absolutely, absolutely aggravate me because yes, that is a culture, but you're getting it wrong because it's not your life. I've never grown up in a ghetto in my life, but I was a teenager. So that's where the fun was. So that's where I visited, right? I went to the ghetto to have fun. And then I went back to my suburban life, back to my parents, the safety of my little suburban community, but the portrayal.
Yeah.
And so I think you have to be very, 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 very careful. If I wrote a main character, I would probably send it to you and a few other people to read the script and say, hey, I need feedback.
Yeah. Oh, fucking absolutely. I thank you for sharing because I am on the opposite end of that where all of my characters are white. And I get hit on for that because they're like, well, Vanessa, she's clearly dark skin and she's a villain. I'm like, she's not a villain. She is a girl who's a high school person who's just in love with Nick. I just made I made this. I was like, I love this. Actually, if anything, she was my character from the Scooby-Doo Hex Sisters. She's the same Sim. I needed Sims. I had it in my gallery at the time. I was like, I'm gonna use that as her. That's awesome. I wasn't being malicious. I just was like, I had 80 Sims at the time, and I picked one. And Luna, who was in this week's episode, guess what, kiddos? she's also from the Hex Sisters because it's still in my category. Like, I get that because they're like, you don't have enough LGBTQ influence. I'm like,
I get that too. I get that too. And it's
Mike and Harrison are they're a couple. Like,
yeah,
and they're like, well, you need to eyebrow. I'm like, this story takes place in Roseville, California. Have you ever been to Roseville, kiddos? It's as fucking white as mayo. Okay, like I just picked that because I was gonna pick Roseville, Canada, but no one gives a shit about Canada stories, so I just picked the fucking states. I just googled where is Roseville in the states, and Roseville, California. I was like, well, this fucking fits as a small ass town. Okay, but in book 2 and book 3, we talk about the other communities in this world, such as like a Native American, and going
right,
into their spiritualism. And then you have the Brotherhood, which are fucking assassins. Okay,
right.
like give me a break. I am trying. I am trying. And again, I'm so uncomfortable. I could never write a black lead character as a woman. I would have to have help because
Absolutely.
I am a white girl. I grew up with the white girl experience, and and I don't want to be like, well, like you should be multicultural. I am trying, but I am the most comfortable writing this as this because this was kind of like my high school
But why?
experience, right?
To me, that's not wrong. And I say that not to say that we shouldn't interject other characters and other
Yeah.
races into our story. I fully believe in that. If you look at my like the things that I did on the Sims that I made prior, they were always really dark Sims
Yeah.
because I don't think that really dark Black people get enough credit for their beauty, their
Yes.
skin texture. So I very rarely did any like light skinned or caramel complected Sims because my point was this Black is also beautiful and I wanted to showcase them. That
Yes.
wasn't something I had to learn like in making the road and making these other shows. I had to say, okay, everybody can't be like dark, dark, dark. Now you're alienating. You're doing the thing that you
Yes.
said you didn't want to do. So you can definitely interject other cultures into your Sims, but everything is a catch 22 and you're never going to please everyone
Yes.
because the moment you write that story of a Black girl, regardless if it's good, regardless if you have points of reference, regardless if
Mm-hmm.
um, let's just say you collaborated with me, someone's going to tell you you didn't have the right to tell that story.
Yes.
Someone's going to tell you that they're offended by the way you told the story.
Yes.
You cannot 100% please the masses.
Yeah.
I also get how come there's no LGBTQ plus communities um in your stories? Well, there's a lot of different aspects to that. When I'm thinking about public consumption, I'm also thinking about branding, audiences, demographics, different things like that. What I can tell you is that I don't have those experiences.
Mm-hmm.
So again, I would hate to write something that is rude or that is wrong. I
Yeah.
want to represent everyone in their truest forms. So actually in the soulmate house that I have now, that is something that's going to come up.
Mm-hmm.
And it's my first time writing that sort of a um kind of love story, and I'm scared. I'm nervous because I don't want to offend anyone.
Yeah.
Um, but I also want my show to be very realistic.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's very rare that you're going to be anywhere and not encounter someone within that community.
Yeah.
You know, my right now, for me, my very best friend um, is a lesbian, and She's the first one that said, "I'm gonna need you to add some girl on girl in one of your shows." I was just like, not hey sis, how you doing, sis? But can I get some girl on girl action? Like, what's up?
Yes.
She's the first one that kind of. So when I thought about doing this, I went to her
Yeah.
and I said, "Hey." I want to write the story into the soulmate house. It's going to be a little different. Here's what's going on. Um, look at this scene and tell me what you think.
Mm-hmm.
And so she looked at the scene and she said, but she said, I like this, but I think that I'm feeling a little, just a little bit of gay man stereotype because it's two men, gay man stereotype here.
Yeah.
Maybe change this or maybe change that, and that helps me but I'm scared to release it because I don't want to offend anyone. And it's stepping outside of my knowledge and my perspective.
It, yes, I could not agree more of what it's like. We kind of write what we know,
Right.
right? So
Right.
if we are not, if we are like, if I'm trying to gauge this so PCly, if we are not in that community, we don't know what, like,
Right.
we don't know. We ask, we get guidance, so when we write those characters, but we don't know it off the
Right.
top of our mind. We write what's comfortable because that's what we
Right.
know. A good example is for Rose Chronicles. They really want Emily and Alexa to like get it on, and I'm like, that doesn't make sense for either of their characters
Right.
because I'm writing Emily was a real person, James was a real person. They were together from the moment they could fucking walk. Okay,
Mm.
like I'm ready to see. They used to practice getting married at recess. They did. Okay, like
Oh.
they loved each other. They were soulmates from the moment from their first play date when they were 6 months old. They loved each other. So they're like, woo, boo, boo, boo. And I'm like, no, 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 no. These are based on real people.
Right.
I didn't just make these characters out of my asshole. I made these people because these are people I know and I'm writing a tribute to them. So lay off. Okay.
Now, as a writer, do you find it hard not to give into your audience?
No. Okay,
Me neither.
so some storytellers in the Sims community, they get really attacked by their audience because they're like, how dare you do this?
Yep.
I, on the other hand, don't care. This is a novel. I've written this. This is just the medium I'm sharing it on because this is the only way I'm able to make a cartoon without an animator.
Mm-hmm.
You don't like it? Don't
Don't
read.
read it.
Don't read it. Okay. You like some fucking romance? Go with it. Cause how I write this as it's a love story. This is Rose
Right.
Chronicle is a full-on love story. I don't it's who the character loves. A lot of people are like, I didn't think Tiana liked men. I thought she would be a lesbian. I'm like, why would you think that? Why would
Right.
why would you associate that? Well, because she's smart. So all smart women are lesbians? Really?
Think about the things that come out of your mouth, people.
Right? So one of her sisters is part of that community, which will be addressed a lot more in book 2. Okay? The character she's based on is not. But I
Right.
wrote that as an added because in the world of demons, wherever I think it's like the Ezreal Isles, whatever I named it, they don't care if you are a woman or a man. They don't give a shit. Love is love to them. They're a little bit more, you can't marry outside what you are.
Right.
Okay, that's more heavily. They're like, we don't care if you marry a demon and they are any other go ahead, but you can't marry the help. Okay?
Right.
Right. That's more because, and again, I got flack for that. I'm like, okay, guys, 17th century medieval. That's the kind of timeline they're stuck in. Okay. Princesses didn't marry the help. I'm sorry.
In real life.
In real life. Okay. I don't, right? Okay. So that's the thing. You stuck in with the royals because that's where you were. There were exclusions to the rule.
Right.
It happened. It wasn't good. Didn't, but again, it's just You can't please everybody. You offend no matter what no matter what you release, you'll always offend somebody.
Absolutely.
It's like fuck. Anyways,
Absolutely.
machinimas. Talk to me about your three machinima series.
Absolutely. So my very first machinima was the landlord. I
Yep.
absolutely love that story. I went to the bar with my sister one night. We were sitting in the car and we were looking at this apartment building, and we knew some people that lived in it. And we just started because we knew the landlord, and this is real life. We knew the landlord in this building was just a jerk.
Yeah.
And he abused his power, with the folks around. So we were like, yo, and then we're literally intoxicated and we're making up all these stories. And I said, I'm gonna do this in The Sims. And I was just going to do it as gameplay.
Yeah.
Right. And so I created this character, made this apartment building, and created the landlord. And then I can't remember what it was, but I saw something on Instagram and it was like The Sims for machinima. What the heck is a machinima? So of course, my thirst for knowledge made me Google the word first. So
Yes.
I figured out what a machinima was. And I said, they do this in The Sims 4? And so I put in The Sims 4 machinima. And the very first thing that came up was the Reaper season 1. And I clicked on it. And
Yeah.
I said, what is this? And instantly I knew I was like, this is not The Sims 4. I knew it wasn't shot in Sims 4. But I'm like, wait, you can do this?
Mm-hmm.
You can make movies? And my journey started from there. So the landlord was born from that gameplay save file. Um, and it is my favorite machinima because it started it off. I wouldn't be 3 in without that very first one. It is horribly shot. I love watching the very first episode. So they're like this. It, it's glitchy.
It's like so. Yeah.
Horrible.
Yeah.
Horrible.
Yeah.
But I still leave it up because it was my journey.
Yeah.
And the landlord progressed into the road. The road was a novel that I wrote. I write a lot of novels just for myself,
Mm-hmm.
because I have these stories that go around in my head. So just for myself. And I said, I'm gonna do the road. And I just immersed myself. I put the landlord on hiatus, immersed myself in the road, and it just that show just sparked a bug in me
Mm-hmm.
that made me just go just all in. So then I finished The Landlord, and that would ended up being 9 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
And then I completed The Road. The Road had a season finale about a month ago, and that was a total of 11 episodes. And then we're currently on the Soulmate House. And the
Yes.
Soulmate House is a Sims 4 reality series with 7 strangers in the house, 7 men in the house to win the heart of Yesenia Harlow, who is a 32-year-old COO from San Machino.
Yeah.
And she's looking for love. And we are in episode 3. I'm writing or finished, just released episode 3, and I'm currently writing episode 4.
Oh,
So
I like that. I like your progression as well because again, you start off basically being I press send.
yep,
Yay. But you go back and you're like, "Oh my gosh, I would have done this differently now. I would
yep,
have done this differently now." And that will continue to happen as because
yeah.
you're coming up to how long have you been on Instagram and like the mission like is it almost a
6
year?
months,
6 months.
almost.
When you get to that year, you're like, holy shit. When you get to the 2 year mark, you're like,
Yeah,
fuck, this is night and
I
day.
can believe that because
Um,
the last episode of The Road versus the first episode of The Landlord, to actually um episode 4 of The Landlord versus episode 5 of The Landlord are totally different.
mhm.
Because by the time I got to episode 5, I was 4 episodes into The Road, where I
Yeah.
learned about cinematic cameras. That was different.
Yeah.
I learned about editing for reels. That was different. So the
Hmm.
first half of The Landlord is night and day from
Yeah.
the second.
Oh, absolutely. What tips and tricks did you take? Obviously, I know from the podcast, but what else are you doing that's making it so different from?
Oh, I love, love. I'm not sure if you can do it in Wonderful Whims, but the positioning in Wicked Whims. The positioning in Wicked Whims, I knew nothing about, right? And I clicked on it one day and I'm like, what is enabled positioning? Because I started using Wicked Whims for animations. There is, when you use like the, what is it called, pose player,
Mm-hmm.
there's a lag between one animation and the next. So
Yes.
when this animation goes, it has to finish its loop. And then it
Yes.
kick into the next animation. That is not the same with Wicked Whims. The snap is like this. So I click on a pose and they're going from in a millisecond. Like the
Oh.
moment I hit the play, the start the time again, the play button,
Mm-hmm.
that animation is kicking in right away. Well, the nice part about that is if I click enable positioning, then I can turn her in the chair in the same frame, in the same camera positioning. Now I can just, so now when you're looking at it, it looks like she's turning,
Interesting.
but I'm just taking her from one pose to the next and then slightly, and I like tool mod, but where you can rotate, but it's 20 times easier with Wicked Whims. And again, I'm not sure if there's positioning in Wonderful Whims. So this is the 18 and up version, y'all. But you can definitely position and you can go up and down. Like I love Flower Sims, or was it? Yeah, Flower Sims Factory, I believe is the name of them. I
Okay.
love their poses. They're very realistic, but
Mm-hmm.
they're always on the floor. So they always start
Oh.
on the floor. And so with Tool Mod, I was having to raise them. And
Yep.
again, love Tool Mod. I think it's really, really good. But I have to know points and percentages in order to use it,
Yeah.
or -5, -0.05, because if I do -5, then they're going to go to the ceiling. So I have to know that it's negative, or I'm sorry, just 5 because they go to the ceiling. So I have to know that it's 0.05 to just raise them inches. Well,
Okay. Yeah.
with Wicked Whims, if you enable positioning, there's arrows. So up, down arrow,
Oh
side to
shit.
side arrow, and then a rotate arrow. And so all I'm doing is clicking. And so if I want to do that every scene to create a look where she goes, I can do that with
Oh
that because I can move her little by little.
shit.
Love it. Change my life because there are a lot of animations because I don't make my own where they're just looking forward.
Yes.
Well, I need you to look this way slightly. So now with the enable position, I can just slightly turn her. And now she's looking like this versus looking like this and someone's talking to her right here. And now I can use that
Oh yeah, yeah.
animation that I couldn't use before because it didn't work for my scene. So that has been invaluable. So if you are a machinima director, download Wicked Whims. I kid you not, if you do a lot of videos and stuff, make sure you get the streaming add-on to go with that because it blurs things out. So you can still have that same Wicked Whims experience, but it puts back that blur so you don't see any type of nudity. But just simply for the post player that comes
Mm-hmm.
with Wicked Whims and the position guide that you can use, it's so much easier. It's just like this. And if you're one of those people that gets so sick and tired of waiting for that pose to change in post player, it's like this in Wicked Whims. I click it, hit one, and whole thing changed. So it's really nice when I want to catch somebody mid sentence.
Yeah.
They're talking mid sentence, but I want this person to come in and cut them off. Well, it's hard to do that. You have to stop them,
Yep.
start them. Wicked
Yes.
Whims, I start them, stop them. So when I turn it back on, she's talking while her mouth is closed. So it's looking like she cut her off. Perfect. Yeah. Cinematic camera. That is something that I remember you and I learned it when we
Mm-hmm.
did Machinima Roundtable. I think you had just learned it like that day.
Yeah.
I just learned it recently, but that changed because it helps with my scene cuts. I don't have to try to position the camera exact. I used to put points of reference on the walls
Oh, okay.
so I can line up my frame with those points of reference on the wall. Now I go back to the exact same position. And so if they're having a conversation like this and I'm catching them from the side, I
Hmm.
have the camera angle because I'm using Wicked Whims. I'm catching that small transition between one sim speaking, the other sim speaking, and it's in the same frame. So now there's no jerk from frame to frame because there's
Oh,
nothing different.
oh shit.
Everything around it is the same. Lighting was another big thing. Learning how to film outside, especially with the way that the sun moves.
Yes.
So that was a challenge for me because if you're even if you're filming the exact same spot on your camera, if that sun moves, it's a jerk. It looks like your scene is jerky because something is different.
Yes.
And so learning how to film with that has been invaluable. So those are the major things that have just taken my machinima creating from like here to there. And then I recently upgraded to a gaming PC, which life changing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I was doing it on my laptop before.
Mm-hmm.
Life changed just now. My Sims went from cartoons to 3D characters with my graphic card. Like it looks so, and that's no reshade, no G shade.
Mm-hmm.
The built-in compatibility of my graphics card is totally different. I've also switched from using Clipchamp, which was the usual original editor software,
Mm-hmm.
to DaVinci Resolve.
Okay.
If you are looking for something that's not Premiere Pro, but
Mm-hmm.
has a lot of the bells and whistles as Premiere Pro, DaVinci Resolve is absolutely fantastic. And if you're used to looking at certain different type of editors, you can change your view. So you can change your view so your interface looks more like Premiere Pro or looks more like Filmoid, um, because that's the interfaces that you're used to looking at. And so it's less of a learning curve. It was
Yeah.
definitely a learning curve for me. It took me about a month to figure it out, but that changed the way my machinimas look as well. So if you're looking for something that's free, because DaVinci Resolve is free, and I would say it is comparable to Adobe Premiere,
Wow.
honestly. And I thought Adobe Premiere was unnecessarily difficult to figure out. I
Mm-hmm.
can figure out anything, so if I really wanted to, I could have figured it out, but I didn't really want to. I just thought it was unnecessarily difficult. And DaVinci Resolve is, I mean, you get the same feel
Yeah.
other high-end programs for free, and you can upgrade to um, a pro version, but the free version has worked so well for me.
I like that. That's again all good advice because I tell people like if you want to do this, you can do it at the $0 mark. I mean, buying the
Absolutely.
game and buying the PC is expensive in itself, but doing like the other stuff, it can be $0 if you so
Absolutely.
chose it to be, and it doesn't have to be expensive if you don't want it to be, and it
Nope.
kind of allows anybody on any walks of life who wants to start. There are alternatives. Like at the
Absolutely.
beginning, you don't have to have voiceover. You don't
Right.
have, you can do subtitle, and that's
Yep.
fine too. Because then you don't have to rely on having a good voice actor cast. Do they all have good mics? Are they going to give me the lines on time? You don't have to work on somebody else of relying to get your product out. It's just you doing your own product,
Yep.
which I could not imagine having a second person being part of this podcast because then I wouldn't have the final say
Right.
on what I did.
Right.
Because like, so I use Premiere Pro. I sit here and tell you, kiddos, you know how I use Premiere Pro? I put the video file in and I cut off the first, I don't know, 5 seconds and I press export. But I have the student Adobe. So I pay $45 a month, but I also get Photoshop, and that's where Rose
Yeah.
Chronicles is made. So I'm more of a Photoshop kitty than I am
Yeah.
an Adobe Pro kitty. But yeah, no, so like if me and my fiance ever start doing like, like guys, we're vloggers now. Hi everyone. Like then we would use Premiere Pro because again, I've learned a little bit as I'm going on, but
Yeah.
it is unnecessarily difficult. But just
Yeah.
because I do know Photoshop, it is very similar to their settings. It's
Right.
no different than Illustrator,
Right.
very similar. But if you have fucking no idea how any of it works, it looks like you're in a fucking rocket
It's
ship.
intimidating.
It's
It is
intimidating as
absolutely
hell.
intimidating. Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
I
I okay. So
the
I have to tell you this so before I forget
yeah, yeah.
because I keep meaning to inbox you. I want to do a weekly talk show with you and a couple other chicks, or men, but
Yeah.
I would love to do just a weekly talk show where we can just sit around and talk about a bunch of things, sim related,
Yeah.
world related. But here's a kicker: I'm gonna do it as a machinima. It's
Yeah.
gonna be totally animated in The Sims 4,
That's cool.
but it would be something that we would do weekly. And I love your perspective. Here's why I love your perspective, right? Because you are a white woman who's not ashamed of being a white woman. And
Yeah.
that is the thing that I like because with all of the things that have happened in history, it's easy to be like, okay, I should be ashamed of my race.
Yeah.
And that's even with black folks.
Yeah.
And you're just very much you. Like
Yes.
what they did is not my fault. That's not who I am.
Yes.
And I really find that refreshing.
Oh.
I do, but I also like the polar opposite, right? I'm very black, you're very white, and I like that. And when
Yes.
I say very black and very white, I mean our experiences in the world we came from.
Yes. Are
You know what I mean?
completely night and day.
So I would love to do that and sprinkle a couple other folks in.
Yeah.
I know you're jam packed, so probably looking at something later in the year, but I really think it would be really cool. And another person I'm gonna try to link up with is a mom cave. If for nothing else, I would love for her to come on every 2 weeks or so
Yeah.
and just get like a mental health kind
Mm-hmm.
of things to help with mental health kind of a segment. But it would be like a view the real type of a sitting around
Yeah.
talking. Yes, and I would love for you to be a co-host if that's something you're interested in. I'll write. I'm starting to write the characters out now.
Yes. A
Yay!
hundred percent. I'm 100% down because we need more of this. Like we need getting more of us simmers together in one room and talking about
Yep.
issues. We could talk about the Sims. I mean, I'm a huge advocate for I think the Sims pat themselves in the back because they thought they end racism. They really didn't. They didn't. I'm sorry, they didn't.
That behind the sim, the what was behind the summit
Yeah.
or whatever that they just did. I
Yeah.
said, okay, so you went from the last thing excluding us to now every other person I see is a person of color. Where are the other races? Can I get an Asian? Okay.
You're
Can I get
right.
a Puerto Rican? Like,
Fucking I know. It's just like, guys, we solved it. We solved it.
like we're just gonna throw a bunch of black people at you and you're gonna be happy.
You're gonna
Okay.
be so happy.
We asked for diversity, not exclusivity,
Yes.
right? We wanted to see ourselves on screen along with, here's a word, along with
Yes.
everybody else. Not just, you know what? We're gonna have a black girl host. We're gonna throw all these black people, content creators at you. You're gonna forget we fucked up, right? No, we remember, right? And you're
Yeah.
trending us right now. Don't trend me.
Yep.
Make it organic. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There are a ton of creators out there everywhere,
Yeah.
everywhere, all over the world. Showcase us together. Have
Yes.
a great blend of all the different simmers and all the different architects and personality types. That is helpful, right? Because me, I listen, I can tell you that I am a black simmer. I can tell you there are black simmers that don't sim anywhere near the way I sim
Yeah.
at all. None. They look at me and they go, okay, all your sims are bougie. And all my sims are bougie, but I'm bougie. So
Again, it's right what you know. If you're bougie, you write as bougie. I don't
I
get
am
it,
not
people.
bougie.
Stop hating us for doing what we know. We just
Right,
know it.
right. Right.
Oh
So it's I just looked at that and I went, okay, guys, all right. I can't even give you up for trying. This doesn't feel like you're trying. This feels like, hey, we're gonna put this big oversized band-aid on this situation. So they said they didn't see enough of themselves last time. We're just gonna throw every
fucking everything in there.
inflection of black person in their face right now. Let's go. Here you go. And I'm just like, we're looking for quality,
Yes.
not quantity.
But The Sims doesn't know the difference.
Nope, because they keep releasing these packs that don't work.
Yes. Yes. I know.
You know I'm
Well,
gonna be mad about growing up or growing together, right?
no,
I'm
yeah.
looking forward to that pack. Oh, which by the way, didn't you love how they had a black family?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I was like, okay, guys, like, come on. Like, I love that there was a black family on this expansion pack, but it's your reason, right? I needed to just come from a this is a family that worked
Yeah.
and not this is us cleaning up our mess. And it feels very much after that, then you release the expansion pack with a black family on there. It feels very much like, um, yeah, this is what's trending on Google, so we're gonna do. That's what I'm
It's
feeling.
like again,
But if it's
we
broken,
solved racism because we added another type of race on there that wasn't white. We solved it. EA. Buy this pack.
thank
So
you.
yeah. No, no, no. No, no, no. It's I fucking 100%. It's the same. It's the same shit. Like,
Yep.
yeah, because
Yep.
I'm like, God, fucking damn it. Okay, you can't even do that. Like, because again, it's kind of like when it's everybody of the same. It's the same problem. You just didn't. You just
Now you just excluded white people.
yeah. We
Like,
because right because it's yeah
there was one, I think one or two white content creators on there,
yeah
and they all had accents, so they weren't like from the U.S. They
yeah.
all had very thick. So I'm going, whatever, just whatever, just whatever. At this point, just give me the damn expansion pack. I'm
Yeah,
done.
give me the expansion pack that's like it's not broken. Cool, thanks. Bye. I that's at that point, that's just kind of is where I'm at. Like,
Yeah. Yep.
I want to see all races and everybody in the community represented and shown, but you can't just narrow in on one because then
Thank you.
again, it's just you're just doing the same thing. What makes it more impactful when you see multicultural, say 10 people,
Right.
10 different ethnicities
Right.
fucking go nuts because then you're actually being diverse. That's not
Right.
being diverse, picking the same. It's just again, it's the
Right.
same. But I feel
Right.
like we could keep talking about this, but we got to wrap this up because we're
Okay.
coming to the 2 hour mark.
All right. All right. Here we go. Here we go.
So
All right.
the shit of us. We're gonna talk about writing a little bit
Okay.
because I just had a sit down interview with Crumbombo Academy. She interviewed me about Rose Chronicles. It was so cool to have that
Mm-hmm.
experience and just kind of talking about like this is Rose Chronicles, guys. We talked a lot about world building. I want to hear how you build your world because it's not fantasy based, it's more real life based. So I'm curious to see
It
how
is.
you build your world versus how I would build my world.
For me, so you know what? I'm gonna answer that outside of machinimas
Yeah,
because my actual gameplay is always um very modern. Like I like a
yeah.
very modern world, very modern houses, very modern suburbs, very modern schools. I'm very modern, so I built mine up. I built a lot of apartment complexes, and I do a
Okay.
lot of townhouses.
Mm-hmm.
One of my biggest gripes with The Sims is that I feel like I should be able to split a lot if I want
Yep.
and make it two different houses.
Yep.
So I should be able to take that 50 by 50 and make it a 25 by 25 if I so choose. So I can put two families on there.
Absolutely.
So I normally split it. And I have um, a lot of townhouses and apartments and some really big houses. I don't know how to make small houses. I'm really trying. Over the last few months on the gallery, I've been trying to shrink my houses down a little bit because I make these massive mansions. But the world I love to play in is Newcrest because it's untouched
Yep.
and I can seriously make every single neighborhood. But the world that I love to play in that's established is Oasis Springs. I just love the background and the scenery, and I tend
Okay.
to make a lot of houses that look very nice when you back them up to those mountains and the
Yeah.
deserts. And so I like to build my world. And then I do a lot of townie makeovers just because I can't stand Judy Ward's outfit. Like that has to go.
Yep.
Whenever I start a save file, like you can keep the hair, but that outfit's gotta go. We're gonna, jazz you up a little bit. But I do like to do townie makeovers, and I do like to just start filling in a lot of Sims from the gallery
Mm-hmm.
because I like a diverse situation. I
Yes.
like to see a lot of different Sims um, that I wouldn't necessarily that I didn't create myself. Because believe it or not, just like you have a type
Mm-hmm.
when you're thinking of attraction, you have a type of Sims.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you find yourself creating a similar Sims
Yep.
and you have to like consciously make them different.
Yep.
So I like to go on the gallery and see everything that you guys have made because there are some cool Sims on that gallery. I'm like, oh. Like I've literally created like grabbed guys off the gallery and then made my Sims to marry them because I'm like, if I have real life, I would marry you because you are so cute, and then make them a couple. So yeah, so that's how I kind of create my world. I like to build it, and there's always a story. I
Yeah.
cannot build without a story. Even if it has nothing to do with machinima creating. I've always played The Sims that way. There's always been a backstory for this family
Mm-hmm.
that extends to the backstory for the neighborhood and extends to a backstory for the world. And so I
Exactly.
normally build on that thing.
Because like everybody has a backstory. I don't give a fuck what you are, what you do. Everything, the house I live in has a backstory. Every like this street has a backstory. This
Mm-hmm.
fucking city has a backstory. It's everything. And that's how you build a fucking world is the story that goes around with it because it has to make sense.
Right.
Right? And some
Right.
people don't unfortunately have that quality of being able to build around the whole world. They're able to do the surface level, but they're
Mm-hmm.
not able to go below, which is going to talk about writing. So, novel, novelist to novelist. As I've
Yes.
I've been writing, Rose Chronicles will be 10 this year. I'm sure you. I know that's fucking nuts.
Yay.
Yay. But I'm having so much fun writing it because I have taken these characters and grew them
Mm-hmm.
from
Mm-hmm.
beginning to end and talking about motives, I should say. So I'm writing a scene for the third book. I was doing this yesterday, and a main character does something that they may have not typically done. Steps outside their comfort zone and goes fucking ham. And it's not what their character is. I had to sit when I was writing that. I was like, well, they wouldn't do that. That's not setting up the scene. But as a line I like to take from one of my favorite movies, Batman, The Dark Knight, it takes one bad day to turn you into a villain. One
Absolutely.
at one bad day. Is it a phrase that was said? Did someone trigger you? Because like right now, I'm talking of heavy themes of grief and
Mm-hmm.
trauma and what that does to somebody. Because Rose Chronicles is there's trauma, but it's not talked about. It's just kind of like everyone's happy and wonderful and great, but there's no trauma. There's nothing bad that's happened yet. There's nothing that is a defining character moment
Right.
because it's coming. But like something that kills me because I was just talking to Nard Villain last week because we had our summer spotlight and we were talking about in the Sims how they're so surface level of being like, so say a Sim died
Yep.
and you're sad for 2 days and then you forget about it and you never talk about it again. That's
Yep.
not realistic.
Right.
Death and grief and tragedy and trauma carry with you your whole life.
Right.
How do you handle that in that situation? So, talk to me about your rating style from starting a character from like chapter one to potentially 3 books later and they're ending. How do you gauge that character progression correctly?
I feel it. I've
Yeah.
always been an instinctive writer. That's why I hear people say, especially with their scripts, oh, I write 2 or 3 scripts ahead of time and then I film. I'm unable to do that.
Yeah.
I tried, but the story grows inside of me. And when I say that, I mean, I'll use the Soulmate House, for example.
Yep.
When I started that script, I knew exactly who was going to be eliminated every single episode and who was going to make it. I knew who the winner was going to be.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. It's in my outline and everything. Well, the winner actually got evicted first. That just, it was from writing and it progressed and it felt natural.
Yeah.
And so I really like to break down my characters by name and who they are and their traits. That's
Yes.
really important for me because knowing their traits tells me how they're going to react in this story. So
Yes.
like Yashina is very down to earth. Yashina is very down to earth. She's very real. She's very honest. There's some insecurity there from a past relationship that she was in,
Mm-hmm.
feeling small, feeling unheard. And so she's trying to break that and not bring that into her next um, relationships. Well, the character is brutally honest.
Yeah.
Like she doesn't have a good grasp on what might be offensive because she doesn't have the time. She doesn't want to be led astray. So she's very quick wit. And she's, well, what about this? What about this? I see this. And she calls you right away on your garbage. Well,
Yeah.
that alienated one of the other characters because they felt a certain way by just being themselves.
Mm-hmm.
That wasn't in the outline. So that progressed
Yeah.
with the story. Like I knew she was going to be, but I didn't know that how it was going to react to her behavior this way. Well, that broke the third story. Was that interaction? Now I want to dive deeper in why did Howard have that reaction?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm going to go back to his character bio, read about him, and go, oh, he would have reacted like this. So everything is kind of a natural, organic progression
Yeah.
for me. The characters tell me who they are, if
I
that
like
makes
that.
sense.
No, that absolutely does. And that is such great character development. And I think it's really important to sit down and write your character, write their ins and outs, write
Yep.
why they do the things they did. Start from the beginning. Does it make sense to where they end?
Right,
If they hate something, have they
right,
always hated it? What
right,
caused them to hate it? Was it X, Y, and Z? Can they overcome this hatred? If they can't overcome this hatred, how does it consume them?
right,
Again, it's taking these characters and making sure that they fit in their surroundings.
right.
Because I think a good villain, you have to hate them, but also agree with them at the same time.
Absolutely.
Because if you don't, if you hate them, but you don't agree with them, then you're not rooting for them. Because
Right.
I am I love movies. I love it's like I wish I could have a podcast just dedicated to like movie reviews because like that is my shit. I've watched a lot of movies. I watched a lot of TV. Being an
Same
only
here.
child, TV kind of raised me because
Absolutely. Yep.
my parents separated in 97. So I mean I was always carted between house and house. So have to make dinner, don't have a sibling, plop me in front of the TV, go nuts. So I've
Right.
always liked stories because I've watched a lot. But again, it's being able to take that knowledge and making sure that it fits the character and being able to be like, okay, so this character does X, Y, and Z. Let's say
Mm-hmm.
bitchy cheerleader. Cool. So bitchy cheerleader season 1 is a bitch. Classic, no redeeming qualities, but you know, maybe we find out her backstory to why she is this way.
Right.
And then she falls in love or gets what she wants. Then you're rooting for her because
Right.
she has admitted the problem. She realizes what the problem is and she's going to grow because that's how humans, that's what we do.
Absolutely.
We are flawed as like no human is perfect. So we come from our background maybe someone's good, maybe someone's bad. You realize the problem and you grow. So then your bitch cheerleader, now she's in season 2, maybe she's no longer a cheerleader, she's part of the debate team because she always wanted to be part of the debate team, but she
Right.
couldn't because she's actually a huge nerd, but she couldn't
Right.
show it because she wanted to be popular because her parents wanted her to be popular. Okay, so now she's on the debate team and she's living her best life, and now she's realizing that her friends maybe weren't her true friends as cheerleaders. So now then you're
Right.
sad for her because now she's alone, and that's something that is a feeling as all humans can resonate, is being alone. That's something that
Absolutely.
we fear very most because we're social beings, is being alone in some form or another. So now you're resignating because now you feel sad, but you don't remember you hated her last season because now
Right.
you feel sad for her. That's really good character development. Like, I like a show where you hate one character one season, but you love them the next and you hate them again.
Yep.
I am huge like on that. And I try to write that way of, I want you to, I'm rating you to hate this character for you to then redeem them, and
That's
then
how the
for you
road
then
was.
you
Yep.
and then for you to hate them again, right?
That was Tori from the road.
Yeah.
When it started, all you saw was he cheated on his wife
Yep.
with this woman, and they were going through all the different things. And then by the end of it, I don't want to give it away so you guys watch it, but by the end, you see a development in him, and you go, "Oh, wait, okay, maybe," And then they get to this point, and then boom, here comes another like life twist that's
Yeah.
involved. But a part of growing is being in those situations that force you to grow. And
Yes.
so you're going to see, if you're going to take a character from episode 1, let's say you have 10 episodes, and you're going to take that character from episode 1
Yeah.
to episode 10, you're going to have to develop them. They're
Yes.
either going to get better,
Yeah.
they're going to get worse, they're going to find peace or be angrier. There's going to be some progression. And so you have to be aware of that. I would say one of my biggest things in writing, especially when I get into deep into a season, and one of the things that I hate about some stories that are out there is loose ends. Right? If
Yes.
you have, keep your script. And this is my little note. I'm looking at you folks out there just making machinimas. Keep your scripts. It is very, very important that you keep your scripts. It's very, very important that you update your scripts when you are making changes. We do make changes
Mm-hmm.
inside of the editing software. I say, oh, I don't like that she said maybe. So I'm going to change that to let's, or I'm going to change it to however. You know what I mean? Something like
Yeah.
that. Upgrading that, because the one thing that I had to do to see the finale of The Road was go back and read every single
Mm-hmm.
script to tie up my loose ends. Everything. That's why my the last episode of The Road was about 45 minutes long. Um, I tied up every single loose end. That is important. If and I see the benefits of writing 3 scripts at a time or 2 scripts at a time.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of don't have that point that you have
Yeah.
to go in and fix. But it's really important to close up your gaps. That allows your character to progress in the next season if they're coming back.
I could not agree more. But if you're not going to tie up loose ends, explain it in the next
Right.
season. If there
Right.
are loose ends, or we're like, who is this? What
Right.
is, like, leaving that mystery, leave
Right.
them wanting more. And I think you really like you name like you nail on the head. Read your scripts. So I am notorious. So like Rose Chronicles has been done for a year. Like, it's set in stone. But I've actually just back in when did a giant rewrite because I didn't like it anymore. I wanted to change it because I'm so far ahead rewriting everything else that to get to X, she needs to
Yeah.
do Y, and then she needs to do Z. So we got to
Right.
start for that to make sense. And I think
Yes.
that's good. Again, continue to go back, read your scripts. I had a whole section in Rose Chronicles dedicated to llamas. I cut that out because I thought that was it makes sense to when you get there, but there's a llama farmer coming up and they steal a llama and they give it to, like, it was funny. And I was like, or I could take this and build upon this relationship with somebody else. Or there was this whole bit of it being like high school classes that I cut out because I wanted to focus on something else
Yep.
instead. And looking at some chapters, I'm like, I can't even imagine. I wrote that they went to, this is it, they went to baby Billy's farm to steal a llama to give it to somebody else because they needed a favor. That fucking happened, and they're also, you tell me where that fits in, because it doesn't. Because it doesn't.
I have
But
done that. Yep.
yeah, because like at the time I thought it was funny, but as you're coming to it, it's no. Or I'm a huge person. I will go in writing. I have what I like, the picture I'm gonna go, or the scene, and I completely change the wording as I'm about.
Absolutely.
Oh fuck! I'm notorious for that.
Absolutely.
100%. I'll just sit there and be like, nah, it's not what she'd say. Or something I'm really bad at is because this like, so Rose Chronicles 220 chapters. Okay, I've written it like, say, 8 months. I can't remember every conversation I've had. So there was parts where like coming up that I mean, I can talk about this. Oh fuck, I guess you're reading it. So can I spoil a part for
Oh,
you?
I am reading it.
Okay. Can I spoil a little bit? That
Yes.
okay. So
Yes.
obviously Briar comes back to the mortal world, talks to Alexa. I had it that she didn't tell her that she was dying until like chapter like 180. I was like, that
Oh,
doesn't fucking make sense. She's there. Because at that time when I had her coming back, I didn't 100% know how she was going to like that affect her. So I
yep.
didn't write it in. So I was going back and reading that. Or there's a couple things where I'm like, oh, I already said this. I've already addressed this plot point.
Been
That's
there.
awkward. Oops.
Yep. Yep. Been there.
Rewrite that. Or talking about like art, like there is when is this coming out? Okay, so there is Alexa and Oliver about to have like this giant riff between them because a lot of
Mm.
truth is about to start coming out. That's the first set of trauma that Alexa will have ever experienced.
Oh,
Besides her
how's she
parents
gonna handle
dying,
that?
but how is she going to handle it? Besides her parents dying, but she
Right.
doesn't, she's a baby. She was just
Right.
told her parents died. She doesn't have any concept of physically losing somebody. So the person that is in her inner circle that she trusts the most, truth's going to come out that Oliver knew a little bit more about Alexa than she knew. And how does she handle that? Because remember,
And
she's 14. She's a
how
kid.
does that
How does that
affect
affect
their
how
relationship
does
going
that affect that
forward?
relationship? Exactly. So that's really, there's a good spread of chapters coming where they're not really talking to one another
Mm.
because they may live together, but they're not talking about the elephant in the room.
Mm.
How is, again, I can't go into like, this is what happens.
But there
Spoiler
was,
alert.
it sounds like there was a demise of trust.
There was a demise of trust. So I would
Oh,
say,
that's a big deal.
has Oliver always been truthful?
Right.
I would
Now, how can she not question everything he
think,
said or
yeah.
everything he's done?
Well, is he the one helping Damon? That's what she starts alluding. Are you the one that's been betrayed? Are you the one filling the secrets in? He's not. He's not, kiddos. But it goes into questioning. I mean, okay, so he found the little prophecy, right? Of being like, am I the father? He didn't go fucking running and telling that. He sat on it. So like the
Right.
whole point is she's always like, just come and talk to me
Me.
when
Yep.
these things come out. But as we which we know in chapter 8, because I've gone back and reread this chapter a million times because it's being addressed. So Oliver knows that Alexa's mother is Diana. Okay. So, but Alexa doesn't know that. She just thinks Diana's just this fucking lady of the court, whatever. But
Right.
Oliver knows Alexa's Desi. Alexa's fucking no idea. So it comes to light very soon
See,
that
I like those little things in the Rose
yes,
Chronicles. Those are things that you pay attention to. So you have things, stories, sim stories online that you don't necessarily have to pay attention to every little detail.
yes,
Your stories, it's going to come back.
yes,
And something that you don't even think is a relevant point of reference. And
yes.
you go, wait a minute, and you find yourself going back a few posts and say, I
Yes.
know I read this.
Well,
And I like that about your storytelling.
well, thank you. Because I just did a whole bunch of Easter eggs from the podcast of like, this is the first sign of crows before it was even talked about. Or Alexander was the one in the first chapter being like, yo, that's where Alexa is. I never alluded to who that was. I just said father. Or
Right.
the biggest one is the reader knows more than everybody else. I've always said it that way. But the biggest twist is we know Damon has 3 children,
Right.
but he has 4.
Oh,
Because Oliver has 3 siblings. He has 3 other siblings. Damon has 4 children. So I've always alluded that there's only 3. So that's also, it was talked about. So on Oliver's blood potion, Oliver is the youngest out of 3 siblings. So he has another sibling. So Damon
right.
thinks it's Alexa, but it's not. And it comes to the attention when Briar comes back and reads, I'm sorry, spoiler, for you, not for everybody else. That she
They
comes
would have
back,
seen it by now.
she comes back and reads the blood potion, and it's like, what the fuck? Who's this 4th person? Who's this 4th child? Who is it? Because he thinks it's Alexa, but it's not. So who is it?
Oh, this is getting juicy.
Right? So there, but again, it's kind of, I always set it up that there's 3, but when Alexa and Oliver say, oh, he has 3 siblings, that's news to them. But for the rest of the audience, they knew, well, he has 3 sons.
Right.
Christian, Alexander, and Oliver, but there's a 4th child in there that we actually do find out who it is.
Because see, that's the catch-22. People hear 3 kids. They don't hear he has 3 siblings. See, 3 siblings is outside of yourself.
Yes, exactly. I specifically used the word siblings, not kids.
Right.
Yeah. See? I'm so good with the little Easter eggs and the wording, because so I brush my teeth thinking of Rose Chronicles. I go to bed thinking of Rose Chronicles. I shower thinking of Rose Chronicles. I think of every little aspect of it. How do I make this work? Because they're like, you only tell one story. Don't you get bored? No. I tell the story in errors. So right now, this is the high school era. Next, we're going to come to an adventure mystery solving era. Then book 2, back to adventure, then royal. It's literally, how I rate this is Taylor Swift albums. Every album is its own era. It's contained. It's its own thing. I don't just continuously keep telling the same story. Okay. Say Alexa becomes queen. How's that work? How the fuck's that work?
Seriously.
How does it work, right? She lived in the mortal world for X amount of years. She comes in here. Should she rule? Should she? Birthright makes sense. Has she earned the respect of her people?
And what are the uprising going to be? Is that going to cause a revolution?
Yeah, exactly. Are they going to respect her? Are they going to respect her because of her family?
You can travel.
Right? Is it going to be, well, she shouldn't rule because of X, Y, Z, or we like her as a ruler? Maybe she starts getting different powers. Cool. Are you still gonna like her? Are you still gonna root for her? What if she killed somebody?
And what is she with power? Alexa with real power as a ruler could be a completely different mortal living
Alexa.
Well,
Exactly. So like, as I write, if I was, God, I'm so trying to like keep this like on spot. Okay, so say she does come back and rule, she would have more of our principal life of living than theirs, such as payment. Just throwing that out there. We get paid for services here. Well, in that world, you don't really get paid for things. That's confusing. Because in our world, we went to dinner, we pay for our dinner. Well, in that world, that doesn't happen. They pay with goods or services. So that's confusing. That would be confusing. So again, it's just the world building, right? Of it being, here's a character, you take them full circle. You take them out of the neighborhood that they grew up in. You then put them outside their comfort zone. Well, how do they react?
Right. Right.
Because, like, there you go. But yes, she's a simmer. I'm gonna ask you one final question, two final questions. Two final questions. Three final questions. Okay.
We need that talk show.
Writer's block and writer's fatigue is an absolute thing. How do you combat both?
I step away completely. I shut it all down. I won't build. Because even when I'm building, I'm thinking about a story.
Yep.
I will shut it down. I will shut myself down. I will go do something completely opposite of anything that has to do with my writing or my story, and then come back to it. I'll tell you just a quick example of that is yesterday I was writing the beginning of episode 4. Mm-hmm. And I've been trying to write it for a couple of days and just wouldn't come. I couldn't get an idea. And so I was like, I'm done. And I laid down in the bed. I'm like, I'm just gonna just stop thinking about it. And I was like, okay, I'm still thinking about it. So let me do something else. I decided to rewatch You People on Netflix, which is so freaking hilarious. Yeah. But watch You People on Netflix. And I'm watching in the very beginning of it. I'm like, got it. And I turned everything off and just started writing.
Yeah.
Because I just did something that completely took my mind off of it. And I was just sitting there going, wait, what if I do this? Oh, people are gonna be like, what? Oh, and then once I figured out that little piece, mm-hmm. right, I was able to go off of that. So I have to completely strip myself away. I have to not think about it. I have to walk away from my computer, maybe sometimes walk out of my room and not even look at it, and just let the story come back.
I love that. That's definitely really good advice. Definitely take a break, walk away. What I do, and this is gonna sound so fucking dumb, I will lie down at night before I go to bed, because what I only write 3 chapters a day. That's only 10. Like, I write on like Instagram. Again, it doesn't take me long anymore. So I close my eyes, as I'm literally doing as I'm talking to you, and I set the last scene in my head. Like, it's a fucking, like, so I'm sitting there and they're like, ugh. And I literally picture what they're going to say.
Yeah.
And I just sit there and I'm like, okay, that's what they're gonna do. And I'm like, does that fit? And I play out the scene in my head. I'm like, perfect. And then I take a voice note and I'm like, okay, so for this chapter, blah, blah, blah. Because I don't do that, the thought's gone. It's gone. As soon as I thought I've had it, it's gone in my head. It's like, I'll be like, oh fuck, that was so good. And I'll be like, God damn it, it's gone. But voice memos, your friends, when you have ideas of just saying, this is what I'm thinking for this character. And you go back and listen to it, like, oh, it's fucking dumb. That doesn't make sense. Or what I also like to do is I like to call just for fun. So I will write scenes just for fun. And just say, like, this is fun. Of like, I think that would happen. And then when I get to that actual part in the story, does this scene still fit? Is this scene still relevant? Can I still take parts from it? So it's kind of like I'm pre-writing things.
Yep.
And that is so cool. It's also so nice when you're like writing and you're like, I've already pre-written this. I just have to take my little bits. I don't have to fucking reinvent the wheel for this one. Like, let's go. But no, very, very, very good advice. What advice would you give to anybody who wants to start a machinima?
Do it. Don't think. Don't think. Because what I can guarantee you is that when you make your first machinima, you are not going to be the Steven Spielberg or the Tyler Perry of machinimas. You're just not. Right? Your first machinima is going to be horribly horrible compared to your second. Yes. And your second is going to be amateurish compared to your sixth, right? Yep. So you need the experience. You need to just do it. I feel like I've grown so much in the last 6 months, from the landlord to the soulmate house, and just the depths of my filming, becoming a director and a filmmaker, right? So this is going to be a 2-part. Don't kick yourself if your machinimas do not flow like someone who's been doing this for 6, 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
Don't do it. There are tips and there are tricks that they know that you don't,
Mm-hmm.
and then you will learn
Mm-hmm.
along the way. Um, Ask if you see a machinima director that you absolutely love. There's nothing wrong with reaching out and saying, "Hey, how did you do this?" They may answer, they may not. There are a lot of people who don't like the how do you do questions. I'm not
Yeah.
one of them. I'm happy to answer that. I'm lucky I have a network of machinima directors who are happy to answer those questions. But a lot of the stuff that I know now, I would not have known if I didn't just say, "Hey, I was watching this episode and you swung left to right on a tree. How?" "Oh, I love this animator. They make all these monkey climbing animations. And now you have a new animator to use.
Mm-hmm.
You have another avenue to look." So ask, ask questions. That is really, really important. I have exceeded whatever I thought that I was going to do in numbers on YouTube just by asking questions. My machinimas have grown just by asking questions. I started with 0 followers or 0 subscribers on YouTube. My mother was my very first subscriber, right? Very first one. And now I'm at 91. And some of the people that follow me have 34,000
Mm-hmm.
subscribers or 600 subscribers, have way more subscribers than me and enjoy my work.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that will be my last advice to give you. Do not, do not measure the success of your machinimas just based on subscribers, just based on views, and just based on likes.
Mm-hmm.
You will get discouraged, and I'm telling you that from experience. I saw folks who came into the content creation of the Sims scene after me and have excelled past me, right? Every machinima director is different. Every story is different.
Mm-hmm.
Every content creator is different. Do not weigh yourself. Use your analytics to improve your situation.
Mm-hmm.
Analytics, if you're a YouTuber, are let me you realize when people are watching, who's watching, what demographic, what time are they watching, how do your premieres do when you drop a video at this time or that time. That is really important. So if you're going to weigh yourself on anything, it would be how you use your analytics.
I think that is definitely such fantastic advice. And don't let them, like you said, don't let the numbers gauge your
No.
happiness. That's really hard at the beginning because like usually at the beginning of the Sims like community, you get a lot of followers really quickly because everybody really follows back and is really supportive. But once you
Yep.
have those core followers, you don't really get too many after that. So
Yep.
you kind of go, why I got like 50 followers in a day because like it was so cool, but it's been like 6 months and I've gotten 2 subscribers. Like, what the hell the fuck is going on? Like, I just can't do this. And I'm putting like 18 hours into this and like no one's watching this. And you just have like this existential crisis. Like, who's this for?
Mm-hmm.
And it's gotta be for you, because if it's not for you, then you're not doing it right. But
Absolutely.
exactly. It's hard. I mean, I spoke last night about I used to gauge my day on how many listens I had. I truly did because I really got I blew up really quickly. It was about a year and a half ago in Australia, fucking all places, Australia, because I was eighth ranked for gaming podcasts there.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, don't know how. Right place, right time. So I was getting like thousands and thousands and thousands of listens, and then it fucking stopped one day. It
Yeah.
just stopped. And then I got ranked lower and lower, and because it happens, right? I think it was more of a fluke. I think the algorithm thought I was maybe a different Stassi. So it happened, and then I was like, well, what the fuck happened? What the fuck? And I was like, well, let's do this. Well, I'll do this podcast because
Yep.
this is what people are talking about. And then, or I'll be like, oh, I'll get this one on because like we're gonna talk about trendy things. And then it just
Yep.
stuff wasn't happening, and you're just like banging your head against the wall. You're like, why isn't this working? And then you kind of realize like, well, I stopped doing it for me at that time because
Right.
I was doing it because I liked the attention, because again, as humans, we like the applause.
Right.
Right. So I came back with like season 2 and just being like, I'm gonna do this 100% for me. And now I'm getting people wanting to be on here. And now I have to be the bad guy saying, you're looking about a year. If you're around in a
Right.
year, more than welcome him. And they're like, but a year? You having episodes come out? I'm like, yeah, this was filmed in like October and it's
Oh,
January.
that's another thing. You know what I would have said to that?
Yeah.
Great. I'll see you in a year. Because it's
Yeah.
for me.
Yeah.
It's not just for you. I love talking about The Sims, right? My
Yeah.
family is sick of it. I love talking about The Sims. Um, but coming on a podcast, some of that has to be for yourself, right? You're trying
Mhm.
to get your channel out. You're trying to brand yourself. You know, the icing on the cake for me is having a really good conversation with you.
Yeah.
But as a YouTuber, I wanted to find creative ways to get myself out there, to get my brand out there, to get people coming to my YouTube channel. So that was the appeal. Now, I liked the host, I liked the podcast I saw. So that was the draw.
Yeah.
But my thought would have been if you would have said a year now, mind you, you and I had this conversation at the end of July, August, and we're in
Totally.
February for
Yeah.
my summer spotlight.
Yeah.
And I patiently waited for that because it was an opportunity
Yeah.
for me. It was an opportunity for me to let my Sims voice be heard. So that's I think I gave you guys like five. So six, right? Be patient.
Yeah. Be
Be patient.
patient and and respect my boundaries.
Right.
When I say I can't do this, I'm not doing it because I'm a dick because I don't want to do it. I'm
Right.
saying I have seasons from September to April. That's
Right.
my filming season. Cool.
Right.
You're not in that filming season. I guess you'll see you next season from September to April.
Right.
That's my filming season because I want to enjoy the summer.
Right.
Right? And
Absolutely.
right? Anyways, we gotta wrap this kitty up.
Absolutely.
Yes, she's our absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for coming back today. Why don't we tell everybody where we can find your Miss Cinemas and your Instagram page?
Absolutely. So I am one of those people that brands everything the same. Yes, she's a simmer on all platforms. Yes, she's a simmer on YouTube. I have two full seasons and one current season. I have The Landlord, The Road, and The Soulmate House that is currently in production. Before I get out of here, though, I do have to do a shameless plug. I have coming up hosted by the wonderful Sassy J and Cimarella. It's a Machinima TV, movie and TV awards that will be coming out very soon. Our voting list will be open in about 3 weeks, so folks can vote for all of the nominees. And we were very lucky to get a huge list of nominations. Some wonderful voice actors, some wonderful directors, and looking really, really forward to doing that very, very soon.
I'm looking forward to you. I was literally that was my last thing. I was gonna end with. I was gonna be like, anything you want to share about the Machinima Awards? I know this is coming out in June.
Yep.
But is there anything that you want to share now?
Absolutely. I am not sure if we would have been out or not, but I will say that I'm really, really looking forward to this. It's not the same type of summer awards that you see
Mm-hmm.
where most of it's online and it's via like social media. This will be an actual machinima with real Sims, real nominations, real musical performances. We're lucky to have a bunch of people who are actually going to be allowing their music to be performed and Sims created as acts. So to be in award shows, just like you see the MTV Movie Awards or something like that, and it will be live. So it's going to be um, I think, project. And I have some wonderful people on board, including like I wouldn't want anyone else to co-host it, but you and Cimarella. I absolutely love your online personalities.
I'm so excited. I've known Cimarella for a long time but we've never really crossed paths with one another. So I'm really excited for us to finally cross paths, because that's something in the Sims community. You kind of really cross paths with the same people, especially voice actors. You really cross paths with the same voice actors. Again, not to quote Alexander Hamilton, but a lot of us, we keep meeting. Like, great. We do. We keep meeting each other, being like, "Hey, you," and I'd be like, "Oh my god, like, hey, like, what's up?" Because I just interviewed Witching Mermaid, and again, we've just been in the same circles, but we just never really like interact with one another. But we're in the same 4 out of the 5 builder collabs, and we were just talking about that. I was like, "Yeah, dude, we keep meeting." Anyways, YesShesASimmer, absolute pleasure. I cannot wait to have the awards, hosting it again. Thank you so much for selecting me as a host. Absolute honor and pleasure. I love being part of this community, and I will do anything I can. I'm so excited to see where Machinima Journey is gonna hold. I feel like even from a year from now, I'd be like, Stas, man, like, I said some shit 6 months ago. I thought this was it.
We're gonna have to do a recap in 8 months.
Right. Anyways, yeah, just an absolute pleasure. Please go check out links below. Please go check out Machinima. It was absolutely incredible. Absolute pleasure. And I cannot wait to be part of your talk show as it's a Machinima, and we can literally just shoot the shit, because I'll just be that like obnoxious white girl.
I love it.
I'll come up with my Chanel.
Because I'm gonna be that overpowering black girl. So I think the contrast is gonna be like so awesome.
Exactly.
Cassie, thank you so much for having me as always. It has been a pleasure being interviewed by you. Big ups to your hosting skills. You make me feel very comfortable and very open. And I can't wait. I hope that I'm doing this for your 100th anniversary special or something. I think that we'll have a long lasting relationship. Thank you.
Oh my, I cried over here. Well, thank you. It's much appreciated. I don't usually get thank you, so thank you. It's again, it makes me feel like I'm valid for what I'm doing.
Absolutely. And you're good.
I want to make this a job. Again, this is the job I want. This is I just want to just be me and have fun and, you know, have a great time. But like, I am gonna wrap this up because I feel like we could open this up to another 15 minutes second.
Okay. So we're both just gonna walk away.
We're gonna both walk away, but we have lots more to talk about, because I got to talk to you after the podcast, and you got to talk to me after this podcast. But anyways, YesShesASimmer, absolute pleasure. Please go check her out. Links are gonna be below. You're welcome back anytime, and I know I'll definitely be seeing you on this podcast very soon. But
bye, guys.
Bye, everyone.